Oops. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon for Brandon Show. It is Friday, January 29th, 2021. End of the week, end of the month. Hope everybody's doing good out there. See who we got in chat to start the show off. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Seemed to be a little weird sound on the intro on my side. And let me know if it's all weird. We got Almost Unbelievable Ranty. What's up, man? Ian Adams, Gadget Inspector, Jason McCormick, who says Happy Concave Week, everyone. SE Montreal, page 42, Chrissy Heavey, and SE, oh, I already said SE Montreal. Let's see here. I'm starting to repeat myself. Flat for Life. What's up, Flat for Life? And Ian Adams. Hope everybody is doing well. And looks like the sound's okay. I see some thumbs up. Appreciate that, guys. Want to make sure everything's coming through. Thank God I got my technical issues worked out. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Very, very happy about that. Let's see. What do we got going on tonight? A couple things that I didn't get to this week. There is a website that I found, a Flat Earth website. Somebody has obviously put a lot of time into. A gentleman named Blake. And we're going to check that out. And, you know, that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. I'm sure we'll figure something out. But that's all I have planned. I'm hoping some ballers come in and we can antagonize them. I mean, have a conversation with them regarding the flat Earth or the supposed globe Earth. But we'll see. If you do want to support the show, here is the link for the Streamlabs. Easy to do. Click the button, fill it in, and keep money out of Google's pockets. Pin that to the top for you guys. You know, Jason, I would love to see the evidence for the concave Earth sometime. Something that I have looked into only briefly and haven't really been able to find any solid information. Not to say that it's not out there, but obviously there's not the wealth of information that we're used to for flat Earth. Now, I have read about the mine experiments and different things, which were interesting, very interesting, but never in depth on how the model is supposed to work. So stop in sometime and tell us about it. Anyway, let's get to Discord. Let's see what's going on. I see Ranty popped in, so he's always got something interesting to say. Let's say hello. Ranty, what's up, man?
Hey.
Hey. It's Friday. Where is everyone?
It is. I don't know. I thought I'd pop in because it looked like it was kind of lonely in here.
It is. Jeremy is in here, but he's on deafen. So he must be scrubbing floors or something. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I've got a busy day, busy weekend actually. I've been searching for guests for my new show, and we've got, I believe it's nine guests to do recordings with tomorrow. So that's going to be, tomorrow and Sunday. So that's definitely going to put us in front with a whole bunch of stories there.
9 guests?
Yeah, over 2 days. Yeah, we've got all sorts. Ghost stories, hauntings. Got a woman that was in a fire that should have burnt her alive. It didn't. She was saved by what you could call a guardian angel, let's say. And she actually caught the guardian angel on film. You know, so we've got loads of stuff.
Wow.
Loads of stuff.
I have a story for you, but it's not really a bizarre one. I was in a car accident when I was 14. I was with a couple of my friends, and we were going on a road trip, and it was in a pickup truck. You remember those old Toyota pickup trucks, the little ones? Kind of like a Ford Ranger, very small pickup truck. And I was kneeling on the center console of the truck, so there was no back seat. My friends were in the driver and the passenger seat. I was kneeling on the center console like a baseball catcher. And there was a back to it, and it had one of those covers, fiberglass covers on the bed of the truck, and a bunch of tools in there. Well, something spooked my friend, and all of a sudden he jerked the wheel to the right, and then he jerked the wheel to the left, and started going slow motion. I felt like it took forever, but the car eventually turned over and we rolled about a long way, like I don't know, 20 times. We rolled the truck 20 times, just violently
Wow.
rolled it on the freeway, going very fast. In the middle of that crash, I felt my legs going out the window, and something in my head told me that the car was about to roll over on me. It's like my legs had fallen out the window because I didn't have a seatbelt on, and the truck was still rolling. And in my mind, I saw where to raise my arms up and grab the steering wheel. And I raised my arms up, grabbed the steering wheel, and pulled myself in. And I still cannot explain how that happened. Now, maybe it was my subconscious that knew where that steering wheel was, but I was rolling around inside this truck with no idea what was going on.
Bloody hell, I bet you were all messed up after that, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I had like 35 stitches on my back. I was banged up, but all in all, we all survived. So,
Jeez.
yeah,
A motorway flip like that, you wouldn't expect to survive, to be honest.
I know, right? Especially kneeling on the center console. Like going 80 miles per hour.
You must have a guardian angel yourself there.
Well, that's what it felt like. Yeah, it was like something told me where that steering wheel was, and I saw it all in my mind. It was like something told me, if you don't grab this steering wheel, your legs are going to get crushed and you're going to be a cripple or dead. Like all that went through my mind in that split second. I just reached up, grabbed it, pulled myself in. I know, probably not as exciting as Ghosts or the other stories.
No, it's a good story. It's a good story. I can't imagine how you all survived, to be honest. 80 miles an hour, flipping 20 times, rolling, and you all walked away from it. Sounds insane.
Oh, it was. My friend had his spleen busted wide open. He was in the hospital for an extended period of time. And the other person in the car was my girlfriend, and she was all busted up. I was blind right after the crash, so I went into immediate shock. Woke up, and all the stuff was strewn around the median for like, they said 300 yards. So it was a long crash. All the tools and stuff, and the top of the truck, and she was there in the center median, and I saw her, and I ran up to her. This was before I was blind. And I said, where is, our friend Miles? And she says, I don't know. And she was crying. She's saying, don't look for him. Don't look for him. Because she thought, she thought the worst. And we did end up looking for him. I went over and lifted that fiberglass thing up, see if he was under there. We never found him. But we did flag down a truck. And that's when I started to go blind. Couldn't see. It was pretty unreal. Took me like 5 years to get over that feeling of just even being in a car or a truck where it would turn a corner and I wouldn't get freaked out.
I imagine you didn't even get an insurance payout because you weren't in a seat or anything like that.
No, nothing like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. That was a lucky one. See, Ian Adams says he had a wheel fall off his Escort at 60 miles per hour. That's crazy. Smurfer says that's what you get for driving an Escort.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Jeremy?
Hey.
I was on mute. I was on mute. I'm like, why is no one talking yet? I thought I'm at work, so I wasn't checking the phone. I didn't realize I was on deafen.
Yeah, Randy jumped in to save. Good job, man. I would have been in here all alone.
Nice work, Randy.
I couldn't let you sit and suffer. I've done that a couple of. There's been 2 or 3 shows in the past where that's happened to me, and it's taken 20 minutes for someone to come in. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, I would have been
I thought you weren't
struggling
having
too.
a show tonight.
What's that, Jeremy?
I was like, oh no. No one's talking. He must have canceled the show tonight.
No, I don't know. Fridays really start off slow. Fridays are like almost the slowest night. I don't know why. Everybody's got off doing something else or off having fun or whatever. I don't know if is there another show at the same time on Fridays? A big one?
No, I think everyone organizes this shit out pretty well to where like you're not on top of other people's flat Earth spots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Because I've been in this time for a long time. Really, I don't see too many people at the same time. Jaren, of course, Jaren can do whatever time he wants, right?
Oh yeah, Jaren.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if Jaren's is going on right now, I don't know. What does he do? That what's the name of that show that he does?
Yeah. My gosh, I hate to
think
say
it's
this, but I
Friday
haven't
night,
watched it
too.
for a while. Friday night something, yeah.
Let's have a look.
I think that's what goes on at the beginning
Oh,
of Friday
yeah,
nights.
he is journalism's Friday Night Lounge.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to write down the names of everybody who is in chat, and any ones that are missing will be hearing from me. So,
right, I get you.
yeah, you guys are lucky out there. Good job, guys. Appreciate that. At least we got some loyal fans out there. Fans?
So
you guys aren't really fans. Friends? I don't know.
So these satellites that I've been watching your show this week, obviously, and I've been keeping up to date with stuff. And I'm looking at these satellites. Has anybody come back with any reasonable explanation as to what's going on? Because I've seen the Globers come in and say that it's not clouds. Okay. So, obviously my question is, well, if it's not clouds, but it looks like it's clouds, what else is it? And also, what's their excuse for what apparently looks like some kind of chute opening up on it, which could quite easily be something else. Let's be honest. It could be something else. But is there any reasonable excuses for these?
The most reasonable excuse that I've heard is for the chute, and I could almost buy this one if it weren't for the fact that I went and looked at every single satellite that was on that rocket. And I know exactly which satellites were deployed, which is that they released a solar antenna of some kind. What are they called? Solar panels.
Okay.
But
well, here's my other question. Here's my other question. It's one final one that you haven't actually thought about yet.
Okay.
So, what was releasing these? Was it the Elon Musk's thing?
No. This is an Indian ISRO rocket.
Okay, so the rocket goes up and it gets into orbit. Is that right?
The rocket goes up. It goes up to it goes up to 576 kilometers, and then it starts releasing the satellites.
So it settles into an orbit, though.
I don't know that it settles into an orbit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why did they fire the rocket? Why did they fire the satellites downward then? Why did they give it a downward vector? Because you'll know that if you're in this vacuum, once you give a vector, so, a direction to something, it's just going to keep going. So if they wanted it to be in orbit, shouldn't they have just opened the back of the rocket, let's say, and let's say it falls out of the back of the rocket to give it that orbital, momentum? Because once they give it that push and it's heading towards the Earth, right, it's just going to keep going. It's not going to stop.
Right.
Because they're not firing it into an orbit. They're firing it down.
Yeah. Why are they firing it down? That's one of my questions. Because to me, I've watched it many times at this point, and it very clearly looks like those those satellites are going down.
And I have a hard time judging the scale I'm supposed to be looking at. It's hard to, judge from the top of a cloud something going in it, but there's nothing else to compare it to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
looking at.
Oh, go ahead, Jimbo. Sorry.
Yeah, I just finished with I really don't know what I'm looking at when I see it.
Right. If you can see my screen right now, I may not be sharing the right one. Just 1 second. There is some satellites that they released prior to that. You'll see this big one. This one is called RISAT, I believe. And it's some kind of weather satellite, supposedly, which this looks fake as fuck, and we've already laughed at this a lot. But this looks like it's like coming out of the back, right? This is supposed to be Earth over here, which is very odd looking anyway. But this one goes out the back, and then it shows this one being deployed. And then they go to this side view. And if you'll notice at the start of this,
Looks like an Oreo cookie or a chocolate cookie or something at the side.
chocolate cookie.
The last frame you show, it's supposed to be clouds in the earth. It looks like, a rock or cookie batter.
Yeah, here, let me slow this down. And you can see, just for a couple frames. Now that looks weird as it is, but here, just for a couple frames, did you see that? You'll see what we are told is the curvature of the Earth. This looks like, this black part, a masking of the camera of some type to me. This does not look natural, even for NASA's fakery. This looks like all they've done is have some kind of rounded cutout that they're blocking.
It
part of the
even
view
looks
from.
fisheye. Look how the
Absolutely.
clouds are distorted backwards and outward. It looks almost like part of a fisheye lens capture. Not much more. Or a
Yeah,
rounded
that looks
portal
true.
window.
It could be something that's placed over the camera, you're right? Like just
Portal
a
window.
cardboard slit.
That looks ridiculous. Whatever
Or
we're
a
looking
special
at here,
curved lens. Nothing stopping them from using special lenses.
probably just pareidolia or digital artifacts or something.
Anyway, are these the clouds that it goes into?
Yeah, these
The
are the
rockets
clouds
go
it goes into. Here, I'll play it.
But
And
these are. But hang on, these aren't clouds. Is that right? Is this what the Globers are saying, that this is not clouds that it's going into?
no, they've never said that. I haven't heard them say that they're not clouds.
So what height do clouds go up to?
60,000 feet for
Even
typical
70
clouds.
in some cases for
Was that the
thunderstorms.
noctilucent ones?
No, the noctilucent ones are higher, maybe 250,000 feet, I believe I read, which is 40, 50 miles ish.
Cirrus
doesn't really
stratus
help
supposed
them.
to be well over 70,000.
It doesn't help them at all.
No, they're supposed to be at 356 miles, 576 kilometers.
You could give them the noctilucent cloud height, whatever.
Yeah, and these aren't noctilucent clouds, but yeah, you could give it to them. Yeah.
The perspective from 300 miles, even if you Google Earth and set your height at 300 miles looking down, you don't see this much curvature of the Earth. In fact, if you're over somewhere like Italy, you got boot leather in your face. They're way too high. This is from 3,000 miles up this view, not.
I'll tell you the one
300
final
miles.
nail in the coffin with this, which I'm surprised nobody's actually picked up, is the fact that these satellites, when they release them, they stay in focus the whole time. Now, you'll know that once you've set your camera settings and you've got a focus set, so when it's close up to the camera, you can make out all the features on these satellites. But as it goes away, funnily enough, they can see the satellites the entire time until they disappear into the clouds. Now that wouldn't happen. The camera wouldn't operate like that. There's no way that it would be able to track those and still have them visible as they are. There's just no way.
What do you?
That's why it has to be CGI.
You think it's CGI? See, I think this what they're doing here. This is my little speculation. Is they are in a plane. This footage is shot from a plane, and they're tossing these out into the clouds for God knows what reason. I have no idea why they would do this.
Well, yeah, that could be possible too, because it depends on the speeds. I mean, you're trying to assume here that they're firing these rockets down from 250 miles up, and they're hitting the clouds at 50 miles up, and yet you're tracking these for a full 200 miles. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Oh no.
So we know that. Yeah, we know that these are traveling a distance of just a mile maybe, or a couple of miles at most. So you're quite right. It could be a very high altitude plane that's dropping them into the clouds. It's the only explanation.
Well, I don't think it's that high altitude, to be honest with you. Let me show you something else. I don't know if you caught this week, but I did a comparison between Mr. Sensible's Mage 2 footage and how these clouds look, and I think it's quite telling about the altitude of the satellite release, supposed satellite release. On the left is Mage 2. This is at 38,000 meters plus, 38,616. These are clouds. This white area, these are clouds. That's been 100% verified that those are clouds. We can watch it as it goes all the way up. And we have the weather reports from that day that this balloon was released, 38,000 meters. In the right,
I can only repeat that view here, even for the Mage, is well over 3,000 miles up, not 300.
well, I don't know
I
about
can
that,
only
Jimbo,
repeat
because
that
you can
every
watch
time I
the...
do know about that.
Okay. You can watch the whole thing as it goes up from start to finish. But anyway, on the right, this is the ISRO C-48 satellite release footage. This 576 kilometers, so 576,000 meters, like over 1 magnitude higher, supposedly. Much, much higher. 540,000 kilometers higher. And you see so much more detail in these clouds on the right. It's even more apparent when you watch the video that you're looking at clouds from not that far away. I don't know.
Well, anyone that says that they aren't clouds, I mean, as soon as they admit that they're clouds on the right-hand side, it's essentially it's game over then, because you don't have clouds that go that high.
Oh yeah.
So what else is it? I mean, I would keep asking the question to the globers.
It could be 100% CGI.
What are these things? What's it? Where are these satellites going? What are they interacting with when they disappear? Can somebody give me an answer to that? Because
I think they tried
clouds. It's game over.
Yep.
I think they tried saying it was something with the camera or zoom or something, but then you got that little piece on the right that's not zoomed in. Like, if it's obvious, it's not zoomed in, because if it was, you wouldn't see that little thing from the rocket or whatever.
Yeah.
Plus, you see the satellites go. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to point out what you're referring to is this black thing on the right here is obviously part of whatever the rocket, or if it's a plane, if the part of the plane. And this is relatively in focus. So this isn't a super zoom that they're using. Otherwise, this would not be in focus. It would be blurred or not seen at all. It's not possible with a super zoom to zoom in on these. And we watch them come out, so it's not zoomed in. That's the point. This isn't like we're watching these satellites from 576 kilometers with a telescope or something, right?
When you juxtapose those two pictures like that, it's obvious that the Mage one is vastly higher, extremely higher than the other one, despite what those numbers say about the kilometers and meters.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very evident. I think that's why they use such a shitty camera, possibly, because this one.
Even the ISS and NASA have been using shitty cameras like that when they're showing it from Earth. That way, it's a little fuzzy and who knows. That's one of their tactics.
Yeah, exactly. They did that from the beginning with the moon landing footage.
Oh yeah, from viewing it off the screen. Yeah, I mean, that's one of their tactics, is to have the shittiest quality possible, and they come back and say, well, we need space cameras, they aren't great, or we don't have to prove anything to you. They'll come back with, they got the whole pinata of excuses.
Right. There is one possibility, and Chrissy Heavey has reminded me regarding the parachutes. Now, satellites are sometimes equipped with what's called an exobrake, which is essentially a parachute. But those are used to return the satellites more gently to the surface of the Earth, so they're not just falling down, and hopefully they can recover them, or they don't crash into somebody's house and destroy it or whatever. So when they're deorbiting them, they have these exo parachutes that slow their fall. But at 576 kilometers, there's not supposed to be anything for a parachute to work off of up there. That is far above what they say is space. There's no air up there. Oh, for those who haven't seen it, I'll just play the portion of this where you see them go into the clouds. This is zoomed in from the original footage, so you don't see that thing on the right. But here's one right here on the right. You can see it's already got that white blossomed out of it, which I suspect is some kind of parachute, or maybe a balloon. A balloon would make sense too. If these satellites are truly floating around via some kind of balloon system or some kind of system we're unaware of. Maybe that's what this white thing is, and it ejects and fills with gas, and then they float around possibly.
I don't know. I think you need a more sophisticated balloon and one just you can expand like this. I think this is just for show.
Yeah, you might be right.
Look, we're putting satellites. Look, we're putting satellites out there. Look at us.
Yeah, this is what we spent your millions of dollars on, and they're doing something else. And maybe they want to disguise what they're actually doing, but they're still faking space. So it's very, very questionable what the hell's going on here. But here, I'll just play this, and you can see these two on the right already have that white thing, and then the third one, the white thing opens up. You can very clearly see that something is growing out of the back of it. I don't believe this is just a reflection of the sun. Based on the offset and the way that it slowly expands and grows, and that you see it as it gets further down, where the other two already have that, makes me think that it's a parachute. But the most interesting thing really that I find is it going into the clouds. Let me go to the other video, because I've watched this several times, and it very, very clearly to me goes into this clearing right here. Is this the right one? Or this might be the full video. Oh yeah, this is the full video. There we go. It goes into this clearing. I believe this is the clearing in the center of the screen. And we see it go underneath the clouds. I'll just leave it on slow. Now, I never noticed that one before. You see that one tumble a little bit. See that? So there it goes. It's heading right towards that clearing.
Yeah, but why is it going down? That's the thing.
Yeah, why?
It's not falling into orbit now, is it?
I don't know.
They've given it velocity. They've given it velocity, and they've aimed it down at those clouds. So, at what point is it going to now stop and fall into an orbit?
Well, how can it orbit if it's closer to the ground?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so much wrong with this. I mean,
yeah, it's
surprising none of the Globers have come in to try and answer this.
They have, but they've just come in and kind of thrown red herrings, or a couple of them admit it. They've said, yeah, I want an explanation for this. I don't know if they got what they were looking for or happy with what they got, but the ones I've gotten are not satisfying. It's an optical illusion. There's that satellite going into the cloud right here in the corner. Hopefully you guys can see that. And it goes under there, and then you can briefly see it under here in the zoomed in footage. And this second one too, you see it under the clouds and in the clouds, in and out of the clouds. C4 was asking for an explanation. Howard was saying, yeah, I'd like an explanation. It does look like it. People have just come out and straight up admitted that, yes, it does look like it comes in the clouds, which is a step forward, because usually you can't even get somebody to admit that it looks like what you're trying to say it looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's the first stage then in them starting to question why would they need to fraudulently put this information out there, put this video out there to say that this is how we're launching these satellites. Why would they need to fraudulently do that?
Yeah, what would be the purpose? I mean, look at these clouds. These are not 500 plus kilometers away.
Just juxtapose it with the Mage 2 picture. It's fucking obvious. Oh my god. It's clear they're not as high as they're saying they are. Unless Mage lied about how high it said it was. Somebody's lying. Mage is probably legit, and these fake satellite motherfuckers are lying.
Right. Chris Berry says, that's just stuff falling. Yes, that is just stuff falling.
You can mistake it for a UFO video, if you clip a little segment of it.
Oh, yeah, you could, totally. Just say you're looking up. Mark Taylor, Brandon, it's already traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. That's an orbit velocity.
LOL, that ain't no 17,000 mile going into that cloud.
All right.
No.
What about the vector though? Okay, so if let's suppose it's traveling at 17, let's give him that. Let's just say that. What about the vector?
Yeah. What about the vector? It's a great question. So that's the kind of answers that we've been getting, just half-assed attempts to deny or, Phil especially, his answers have been kind of ridiculous. And he's been yelling about it, but he hasn't come on to defend it. And Phil, if you're out there, I'd love to hear from you. Pop in and set us straight on what we're watching here, because it seems like this footage that you provided is the best evidence of space fakery that we've had in a long time. See that? Are you still watching? I mean, that very clearly goes under that cloud. Now you can say all this you want. It hit the Rayleigh criterion. Rumpus monologued in chat the other day. It's the Rayleigh criterion. It's getting too small for you to see, but that doesn't hold much water for me. This is not 1 pixel here. This is quite a big image, and we see it disappear and appear exactly where we would expect it to and when we would expect it to, based on these clouds. Quite the coincidence.
Well, you know what Rumpus would say? He'd say, I know it looks like clouds, feels like clouds, tastes like clouds, but really it's just space mist.
Right. Yeah, and what space mist?
That's solar wind. That's solar
Well,
wind.
I don't know what y'all know India for in modern times, but we got these call centers call with, we repair your computer, it's got broken windows, or, all these frauds. I mean, how hard is it for someone over there, and there are a lot of people willing to work for it, set up, little CGI office, and we launch your satellites into space. Yes, we are the India Aerospace Agency. Why would that be any less of a fraud on the phone than your visa is expired? Someone tried to use it.
My wife got scammed by those people. My wife got scammed by those people once. I'm like, what are you doing on the phone and the computer? She's like, oh, Dell called me that my computer's fucked up. I'm like, wait, they called you? I'm like, yo, that's not what happens. Then I called the number back, and they had mimicked the intro to Dell, but it was like 1 number off their official number. They're a bunch of scamsters, yeah.
I could easily go to India and set up a aerospace. We'll broker between the launches and getting your satellites up. Take the satellites, keep the money, make some videos of them going into space. Look, in 1911, all these cables were laid under the ocean for communication, and they worked real well. And how many years and how many cables have we laid down since? In every city, you look at these higher buildings, and they've got all these radio antenna towers, these things that, rectangular boxes and antennas and every freaking thing. Why do we need all that in every city if we got all these magical things up in space? Now here, just on my street, no joke, I got a dozen satellite dishes I could show you that are pointed directly at a wall, and they're getting a reflected signal from a tower on a mountain in Quebec in front of me. So they're not getting no satellite dish signal. They're getting a radio signal from a tower behind them. And I could take 15, 20 pictures. I could take all kinds of photos of these things pointed in people's goddamn bedrooms. They're not. All this communication is either hot air balloons or whatever they're using up there, or radio towers for transmissions and stuff, or these 95% undersea cables. And
the thing with the high altitude balloons is they say we would see them, but they have these invisible shields that you can make at home. So I'm sure their technology is probably way better, that they could just put underneath the balloon so you never see it.
Could you see a football field, I don't know, 20 miles away? I don't think so. So this theory that you might see a balloon, you might see a mylar balloon, some glitter, it might look like a UFO to you or whatever, I don't know. But no, you can only see so much so far of a thing that's only so big. Even a football field, a few miles away, you ain't seeing it no more.
Yep. Watch this middle one right here. I was just watching this, and it really becomes clear that this thing's going in and out of clouds. So this middle satellite right here, when it gets near the clouds, looks like it goes through part of it, through the second part of it, into that mist, emerges, goes in, comes out the other side, and you can watch it go through
I
the
saw
clouds.
it. That was good. That was good. I saw it. Yeah, you can see it go into the clouds, and then it clears up a little bit and it comes out.
Yeah, it's like
It's clearly in the
skimming the
clouds.
top of them.
Well, you have to understand they have AI built in, and these are shy satellites, so they sort of want to have some, privacy.
There's two things I know for sure about this video. A, they're not as high as the Mage balloon was, and two, those satellites are touching the clouds.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, what's the source of this video?
What's the source? ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, via Professor Phil Bell.
Okay, yeah, this
This
is one of
came
the
straight
dumbest,
from a Glober.
this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen as trying to be proof for satellites. I've seen videos like this before, maybe this one, maybe others, I don't remember, but it's akin to, I know other people have likened it to like World War II bombers. You see the bombs and they just fall straight down. That's basically
this
what's
is pretty
happening
lame,
here.
very lame.
Yeah.
This is the
and it
opposite of. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just gonna say it just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? We're told that whatever that rocket thing is shooting these things out. Well, like you all were saying, at what point do they stop falling towards the Earth and start just going around the Earth, right? Because if they keep falling towards the Earth, they're going to hit the Earth and it won't be in orbit. So it just doesn't make any sense. Why isn't the supposed conservation of momentum keeping them basically at the same level as the rocket? Like you would think that would make sense. Like the thing should just fart it out the back and it would just start to float, right? Like that's what the ISS supposedly does. It just float. It's just floating around the Earth because it's supposedly falling in Earth's gravity as it goes 17,000 miles per hour. But that's not happening here. It's just falling straight down. The question is, do these things have some sort of external or internal, whatever you want to call it, power source, like to push it along? Because that would be the only thing that would make sense, and even then it's not looking good for their case.
These are supposed to be these, Chris, that are on my screen right now in Discord. These
Yeah, no. So there's no way in hell that those things are staying in orbit because they're falling straight down. So if you notice the thing, I don't know if it's being ejected like a cartridge, like a gun magazine, or if it's just falling out. But either way, it's got a new vector downwards, and there's no other force that's going to cause it to stay in, at the same height or level, if you will, of the supposed rocket.
Yeah, exactly. Conservation of momentum, right, guys?
Right. It's going to conserve the momentum of the ejection port, and it's going to keep going. Now, it would have to have a tertiary power, its own rocket source or whatever, or power to then push it along and keep it in that trajectory. But obviously it does. Those things look like something that, Bearded Devil would make in his garage or whatever. They're that bad. So
I just want to thank Phil for this. This is the opposite of proof of satellites. This is proof satellites are being fake.
Yeah, remember Ranty when we were bugging him for quite a while? Hey, give us your video of space. Give us space proof. You say you got a video of rocket launching satellites. This is what we got.
Well, he told me off air because he said that obviously he was involved with these satellites and such. And I think he sent me an image of one of these satellites, as they were being, sort of like not made, but ready to be launched the next day. And they showed you all the things that were inside it and the rockets and everything. It was a pretty cool image, actually. But he said to me, he said, well, no, he says, I can sit at a screen and I can watch as the Earth gets smaller from these satellites. So these satellites on the way to the moon, or rockets on the way to the moon, he was able to look back and watch the Earth getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I went, what, you've seen this? He said, yeah. I said, well, can you record it then? He says, no, I'd lose my job. And I said, well, why would you lose your job? You're proving that the Earth's a sphere and not a globe. A globe and not a flat, right? If you could actually provide that. And
who does he?
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, who does he say he works for when he does this satellite nonsense?
It's like I think it's Indian, the Indian space program. I think.
Yeah,
So that's probably a national program, right? In other words, it's probably well, I'm assuming they have a similar system as us, so it's tax funded, which means it should be public information anyway. So I don't know how you would get fired for it.
It's these guys,
I
Indian
said you
Department
would
of
be a hero.
Space, Indian Space Research Organization, Government of India organization.
Well, I said if you was to film that and put it out and show everybody this is what the world looks like, you know, I mean, you wouldn't be locked up for it and you wouldn't lose your job for it. I don't think. In fact, I think you'd become a celebrity overnight. You know. But,
I don't know why we're listening to Phil Bell. He said that water vapor wasn't gas. So
That's silly. Yeah.
no.
Here's another one of their videos. But check out this first image.
But I want to see this. I want to see the Earth getting smaller, don't you guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Phil, break it out, man.
No, but here's the problem with that. He'll come with something and say, "Look, this is proof," and then we all look stupid, right? Because the Elon Musk car in space, they do that. Like it goes farther out and it gets smaller. You can fake that, right? It's if you had CGI in a 3D model and you're zooming the quote unquote camera out, it's going to get smaller, right? Like Stingray could do something like that and it would look pretty legit. I mean, so I don't know what it would prove, but I get your point. You're forcing the issue onto him and having him come back with some evidence he says he has, but we don't see.
You know what I think's going on here? I think that these governments are using these rocket programs to cover their testing of ballistic missiles. So they don't want to freak out their own population, freak out the other population. It gives them plausible deniability to test long-range missiles.
Could be a spy thing. It could be a missile thing. It could be just a way
rocket
to.
is a missile.
It could just be a way to embezzle money from the taxpayers. Whatever. Like pick your. It's a.
Yeah.
You know, pick your poison.
But tell me this image on screen doesn't look fake. I'm not saying it is fake, but it just looks like a model.
Yeah, it looks like a model. See, here's the thing: if these rockets existed, if these Elon Musk like cartoon rockets, you know, do exist, and let's say they do fly, and let's say the one that goes up and comes back down is, you know, coming back down like it just is just falling out of the sky and it lands. Let's say that's real. That's fine. I'll even buy that. Because again, we have to be careful what we say. You know, like if you're deep inside the rabbit's hole, you know. He says things like, "Oh, these rockets are 100% fake." Well, maybe, but maybe not. All someone has to do is go to, you know, one of these launch sites and record it and come back as an independent observer and say, "Look, it's here."
Yeah.
Even flat earthers could do it. I don't know. Maybe they have. So we have to be careful what we say if these things are fake or not. Like you said, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Why wouldn't?
Let's not rest our laurels on these things being fake. They could very well be real. People are smart. We've built, you know, we built the pyramids, we built Brooklyn Bridge and China Wall and all that stuff. So they can build these rockets. I have no doubt.
Sure.
They're using some of the money for that. Are they laundering some? Yeah, of course. Like you don't need $50 million a day to do this stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question something's going up in the sky. I mean, you can go watch the rockets. You
Yep.
can get your zoom cameras out, zoom in on them.
Exactly.
What happens after that? I mean, if you've ever seen the time lapse trajectory of one, you know the Globers have their excuse for that, but it's coming back down.
I do
They
think
don't
that
even deny
And
it.
that's what
I don't think they're fake. They're obviously not faking all of the rocket launches, and I am not saying that at all. I know there is real rockets of some kind being launched on a frequent basis because people do go and film them. However, I do think that some of these are suspects that they are faking maybe some aspect of it, or maybe just outright faking some of the rockets or for some reason. But that's not the important part, really.
So
Well,
Rachie,
Go ahead.
no, Rachie 50 says that she's heard water vapor isn't gas. No, it absolutely is. 100% is water vapor is a gas. You just Google it and it'll come up. The first thing it says is it's a gas. So there's only 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. And water vapor is a gas. So
Rocky had caught what's his name? It's in those numpty clips that I sent you, Brandon. Rocky had caught someone leaving the part there was one last sentence in the definition, and it said water vapor is a gas, and the Glober that was reading it off left that sentence out.
0.
Yeah,
right here.
Phil Bell was part of that originally when that first came up. I think it was on maybe Jose's when the water vapor thing came up, and they were laughing. Oh,
It was.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was on there, and I was saying, yeah, it's a gas, and they're saying no, it's not. And you got who's the other foot clapper guy? Sean Squawkins was like, it's not a gas. You got Phil Bell, who's a supposed professor and like this supposed satellite guy. No, he doesn't know that water vapor is a gas. If you type in is water vapor a gas, the first thing that comes up, it says water vapor or aqueous vapor is the gaseous phase of water. The gaseous phase, not the liquid phase, the gaseous phase.
Oh yeah, I think Sean Hawkins tried saying, "Oh, I would say it's in its gaseous state." Oh, that's gas, and I'm not
Right, it's
fucking
gas.
dipshit.
After we beat the shit out of him for days and days over that, and he had multiple ballers tell him that he was wrong, he had to backpedal and come up with that gaseous state bullshit.
That's even wrong though. The gaseous state is if something's in a gaseous state. What do you think it is?
Right.
Gas.
Exactly.
It's not liquid. It's not.
Here's another one of their
Things.
another one of their launches that I found on their website when I brought it up. That looks like it's going down to me. Oh boy.
They don't get very high up. They say they're going around the curve, but if they were going around the curve like that at that angle, you'd be able to see them for I don't even know how long, hundreds of thousands of miles probably.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
that's the angle they're going down at. When are they going to go up?
I think it's See, I don't know. This is something where I might disagree because it's just perspective to me. Because if they are going at an angle, it does look like it's going down, but it's not really going down, right? It's an angle.
This is a bad
Or
shot. If you
lateral.
see the time lapse, ones though, I've seen them go under jets. They go up, and then they'll start going down, and there'll be a jet above, even higher than they are.
Yeah.
Well, there's video of people that took some of the Elon Musk rockets from a jet, and you can clearly tell it's much higher than the jet. So we know it's going high. Again, so what? It's a rocket. It's going high. Let's say it goes 100 miles. Let's say it goes 500 miles. So what? That's as high as it can go, right? Like it's not going any higher. Anything it drops is just falling back to the earth. So, we can give them a little bit. We can give them these inches. The problem is they try and take the miles from it and claim it's something else that it's not.
No, I'm fine with saying, they go up. But in these pictures, I mean, honestly, Chris, some of these look like they do legitimately look like they're going down, not just because it's got a downward trajectory. It's because it's got an arced trajectory. Things that are just going away from you will go in a straight line, right? These are like arcing down towards you. It has to be going down.
Bring up a picture. Brandon, bring up a picture of a time lapse rocket launch or something. Was it in time lapse or what's the other one? Whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Long exposure trajectory from a rocket.
You
see the whole streak.
Who has a good one on his channel is Brian on Flat Earth Tests. But yeah, I get your point. We don't want to go as far as saying everything's fake, especially when
I don't like that. I just don't agree with that deep inside the rabbit's hole philosophy that there's it's all like they're balloons or something. Like, I don't know about that, right? Like, there's clearly fire coming out of these things. It's clearly taking off. I mean, it's tens of thousands of pounds of steel and such. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing something, man. They're not just. It's not all CGI.
Right.
It's just a matter
Plus,
of how much are
something
they fake. We know they're faking shit. We just don't know how much and what exactly, what the extent of it is.
The building of the rocket is something they probably wouldn't want to fake because that's hands on the ground, real shit. You need a lot of people, I feel like, to have that be part of the cover up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're building
You
rockets.
just build a rocket. You build a rocket as normal, and then you just, after the person builds a rocket, they're like, oh yeah, I built a rocket. I put the steel in and all the electronics and shit, and they could walk away knowing that they actually built a rocket that possibly could go to space. But after that, they don't know.
Yep. Now watch this one. This is what I'm talking about. This one goes lateral to the viewer, kind of across their field of view. So if that were going up, that it shouldn't look to this viewer as if it's going down. That clearly to me.
Now, is this a Star Trek clip from a Star Trek movie, or?
I have to double check that.
Yeah. The problem is there's not enough view for long enough.
I don't know, man. That seems pretty clear
All they
to
have
me.
to say, all they have to say is, oh, once you get out of view of the camera, and then it starts going up again.
Look, it drops that thing. That thing is supposed to be coming back to the ground, and this is taking the same trajectory arc as that thing that is supposed to be coming back to the ground.
Yeah, I don't know. We just have to be careful because perspective can be a funny thing, right? It would be like saying, why is the sun going towards the ground? Well, because of perspective. Like, why is that going? It looks like it's going towards the ground. Well, perspective.
Yeah, but it's going across your field of view. I mean, I mean, I'm not saying I'm 100%, but I think that's pretty clearly not going up into space.
Brandon, bring up a photo. Bring up a photo of a long exposure or time lapse rocket launch. You can see, because you'll be able to see the whole trail. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You'll be able to see the whole trail from it in the course that it actually took. I don't know if it's called long exposure or time lapse.
I think it's long exposure.
Rocket trajectory.
Imagine if you were a person on that thing.
Yeah,
oh my god, it's like about to explode. There's 50 million pounds of fuel behind you, like shooting fire out. Like, that's so stupid.
Oh my god, yeah, going 17,000 miles per hour, 25,000 miles per hour. Come on, man.
It increases to 1,000 miles per hour every second or something crazy like that. Like, bull crap.
Second row down, all the way on the right, looks like a really obvious one.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, Blue Marble Science in chat saying we don't build rockets.
Yeah, look at that shit.
What did he say, Chris?
He says we don't build rockets out of steel, Jeremy.
Oh.
Whatever, aluminum. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, whatever.
What the hell happened to my desktop? There it is.
See, he's worried about what material they're made of. We're worried about the fact that this isn't possible. You can't strap 50 million tons of rocket fuel behind someone's ass and shoot them up at 10,000 miles per hour. Like, that's just not even possible. They would die. They would either die or pass out of the G-forces or whatever.
What they say is that it doesn't go up fast enough. The acceleration isn't enough.
The math shows that. Oh yeah, what, thousands of miles per hour isn't enough acceleration. Like, if you watch those rockets take off, like, you know, it has the telemetry data. It's like 1,000, 2,000 miles per hour, 3,000 miles, like, and it goes up 1,000 miles per hour every freaking second.
Yeah.
There's no way that's not accelerating fast. Like, have you ever been in a car that goes 0 to 60 in, say, like, even 4 or 5 seconds, which these days isn't even that fast? Like, it's insane. I have been. Like, it's nuts. Your whole body is torqued back to the back of the seat. Like, it's crazy. And that's nothing compared to a rocket. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're going 0 to 60. They're going 0 to 17,000.
Yeah, in a matter of, like, what, a minute?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So what do you think's going on in this ISRO video? Do you think it's falling into the clouds, Chris?
If it's, well, look, they're going to come back, and I'm just thinking like a ball. They're going to come back and say, well, it's too grainy, and sometimes in grainy videos, it looks like things mesh together when they don't. Again, that's fine, but here's the problem. They're all falling at the same rate, and they never stop, and you never see them again, right? So they're either falling through the clouds like you're saying, or if it is because it's grainy, well, when do they stop? What external power source do they have that's going to propel them back along? They might have some of the momentum that they had from the quote-unquote rocket when they left, but they also have a new vector, and that's down, and that vector is going to maintain itself unless there's more force to push it in the opposite direction, which clearly there isn't, because those things are like square cardboard boxes looking things. So
yep.
Plus, who the fuck came up with the idea that if you make something go fast enough, it'll just not fall? I've never seen that.
Well, look, they're going to have maths. They're going to say, oh, based on our model and mass, it works, right? But again, like you said, in reality, we've never seen it. It's never been duplicated. Gravity's never been duplicated. Orbits have never been duplicated. None of this stuff has been duplicated. Oh, by the way, why aren't we as flat earthers talking more about the 3 model problem? There's no current model with gravity or dark matter or anything that has more than 2 bodies orbiting itself without completely falling apart.
Hey, they announced today they counted all the moons, I guess, of Jupiter now, and they had a nice CGI picture to prove it. So
yeah, well, don't over
astronomy and all this is about there. Satellites.
Right. But let's stay on track about the body problem. It's still a problem. More than 3 bodies is a problem. Okay, they have 2. They can do 2 in their maths and models. We have dozens of bodies in our solar system alone, dozens and dozens with all the moons and such. So no, their model doesn't work. Their globe model doesn't work. It never has worked in any way, shape, or form. And so don't let them get that across.
So market pool.
Oh, I think.
All right. Well, I just wanted to jump on and
How many you guys up there?
Yeah, it's cool, man.
He's hot micing.
Good to have you.
My bad. I'm on mute.
Hey, how y'all doing, man?
Well, Brian, what's going on, man?
Brian can take
Not
over
too much,
for me.
man. I just got done. I was going to add on to that. They think maps should be perfect. Well, they're using this longitude and latitude, and anybody who doesn't understand that, okay, so your circles are getting bigger, okay? Hey, baby, as you're getting down to the equator, your rings are getting bigger, okay? So if they're going to match the shit closer to the center, if the stuff out in the middle is supposed to match the rings closer to the center, then you're going to have distortion. They think it's because they're taking a flat map, trying to wrap it around a globe. That's bullshit. It's because they're trying to make everything fit when you have smaller circles in the middle. So in other words, if you get up to like Ireland or North Canada, some of them islands up there in Canada, you have about 35 degrees for you got 35 miles for 1 degree, and you start getting down to like 30 degrees for 1 mile. So if you're mapping all of them the same size, where 30 degrees or 30 miles equals 1 degree, and then you get down to the equator where 69 miles equals 1 degree, then you're going to have to draw the land set different. So that's why the maps are fucking distorted, and they act like it's, I don't know, man. But plus you have the what do they call it? The conundrum, the shoreline conundrum, or the shoreline the shoreline anomaly, where if you could measure the shoreline 1,000,000 times, and you'll get a different distance. You'll get different readings.
It's a fractal, depending on
your exactly.
Depending on
what unit you use, you will always come up different.
How small your measuring stick is, it could be infinite.
Exactly. So you could use inches, and if you use inches and feet, you come up different. You use meters, and then yards. You're going to get different. Every unit you use, you will get a different measurement. And to me, that shows a flaw in our math and a way. But one last thing.
Brandon, what were you saying?
Go ahead.
And bring that back up, man. That's a killer right there. You're saying that the one on the right, which is obviously lower to the ground, is 576 kilometers, and the one on the left, which is obviously higher, is only 38 kilometers.
Oh yeah, dude. Yo, this is like the nail in the coffin for me.
That's funny. That's funny.
I mean, that's clear right there. That's all the evidence you need, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Brian's here. He's going to take over for me. I just want to jump on and say hey and add a couple things. So I'm going to jump off.
Cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping in.
Peace.
Take it easy,
Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work, everyone. It's not really hard these days to debunk the globe. So,
Yeah, it's still fun, though.
I think we got a surefire way, man. I need about 5 minutes, and I was going to come in and share an idea with y'all.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to do that tonight, Brian, whenever you're ready, man.
Roger that, man. Let me wash my hands and stuff, man. Then I'll be right back with you, man. Right back with you. I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Let me say hello to the people that have joined I haven't introduced yet. We got the man, the legend himself, Pebble in the Pond. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. I see your footage is out there spreading. I think I saw it in Sky Freeze, one of Sky Freeze videos.
Yeah, I've watched those, and those were good. I
Yeah.
have to try to do that same thing where I either move the targets or then I move my camera closer and further away. I'll have to try something like that.
Yeah. Have you done any variations since the last time?
Yeah, I did a few changes, but I'll have to make them a little bit better because I was just testing different kind of things. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
have to, I tried like a mirror reflecting objects that are like at the midpoint. So I could show those if you guys want to see them.
Yeah. Brian's going to be back in a minute to give this presentation, but if you're going to stick around after he's done, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then we've got Naps Snaps that joined. What's up, Naps? Nah, she's not talking to us. And Flattered Data. What's up, Data?
What's going on, man? Hey, did I hear correctly that Phil Bell is the only one that has the footage of Earth getting smaller from the satellite, and that he can't show it unless, or he can't show it or else he'll lose his job? Is that correct?
That's
Sorry.
As of right now, Phil Bell is one of the top flat earthers.
Whoa, where's that phone coming from?
Sorry about that.
Oh.
It's me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You working
Yeah,
at a
that's
call
what he
center
told
or
me.
what, Naps?
No, it's my phone.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad.
Ah, sorry.
That's all right. All right. And Chad's in the house. What's up, Chad?
Hey, what's happening?
Yeah, same old stuff, man. Got that was
Everything
interesting
was
listening to
gonna
you talk.
grow.
Oops, sorry. It was interesting listening to you talk about your workout regimen the other night after the show. You 3 hours in the gym a day, man?
Well, I think today I was in there for 4 because something's wrong with my arm. I need to go check it out. I couldn't even bench press the bar by itself, so I went over and used the hammer strength machine. Just used lightweight and did bunches of reps. I did that pretty much on everything. But then I realized I kind of felt bad. I was like, damn, I ran everybody off talking about gym shit.
Yeah, you and Negator talking about going to the gym. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, man, thanks.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, Brian's not ready yet. Pebble, why don't we start off with your?
ready, man.
Oh, you're ready. Okay.
Dole's here
Hold on
too,
1 second. Let me
Brandon.
get to a quiet place here. It's kind of more of an explanation than a demonstration. So, if anybody has any questions, man, I guess just let me. I'll try and make it quick. But if it's for clarity, I guess you can stop me.
Okay.
But so I got to thinking.
Hold on 1 second, Brian.
I don't know about any. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Bob Dole is in the house too. Bob, I don't want you to.
No, you're
keep
trying
at
to
it.
silence me.
No,
Can't
not at
handle my
all.
logic bombs.
No, not at
Hashtag Bob Lives Matter.
all. All right, go ahead, Brian.
All right, what's up, Bob? What's up, everybody? So I don't know about y'all, but man, that's all I could think about, man. When we talked about that wall, that is all I thought about. And I'm looking at one of these headstones I made, and I'm like, yeah, this shit is heavy, man. But if we can get something to tip, and I was thinking about, I did what Jeremy's saying, undermining. When we cut footers and break them out, I've had to undermine to get them to roll out of where I needed it to go. And
All you got to do is make
really
the bottom
super
shape
heavy.
like a half circle.
Yeah, that's
and
what I thought about a diamond. So think about this, Jeremy. Well, yeah, the shit I cut was already shaped, but yeah, you're right. But think about this, man. So I thought about it, and then I got to thinking, and I was thinking about a long wall. Okay, so for anybody who ain't on the same page as us, what Brandon and Jeremy had put together was like let's just say a mile for simplicity, a mile-long wall. Okay, we're trying to think of a material, so we're just gonna use concrete hypothetically because that's what we were discussing. So we're gonna make a mile-long water level with basically a few spouts on the water level, like 3 water levels hooked to a long hose. One at the beginning, one at the middle, and one at the end. But we really don't even gonna need that because we're gonna overframe it and just pour water on top of this wall. And we're just gonna say this wall was about half a foot thick, and a couple feet high. Just for picturing it simplicity's sake, just like a wall, bulkhead wall kind of. And so we're gonna just dump water on it, just spray some water on it until the whole thing is completely covered by a couple inches of water to make sure we have everything the same height. So basically, we're replicating a body of water with concrete, okay? So we're making a concrete wall, and we're talking about grinding the whole thing to make sure it's perfect, but Jeremy had a good point. All we have to do is the beginning, the end, and the middle is make sure they're perfect. And we're going to do 2 walls. So one up one side and one up the other. Say 2 foot tall walls, a mile long, and make sure they're perfectly level with the water, according to water. And the test is to see if water is bending. Okay, and if it's a globe, and we pour these walls out, we let it dry, and then we lay them down facing each other. So these walls, we just tip them in toward each other, and or however we do it, they're facing each other head to head, top to top. They're no longer parallel. So the question is it so we just basically molded the shape of the water. We took the shape of the water into something sturdy, concrete. So now we're reverting that shape onto its side, turning it 90 degrees. Okay, so if we live on a globe and the water is curving, then you could picture the middle of the wall touching and toward either end separating away from each other. Okay, so separate, but that's a hell of a task. You know, even if we went a couple hundred yards even, or half a mile, that is a hell of a task, but it's possible. It's not really that expensive. It'd take a little manpower. But I got to thinking about it, and then it rung in my head, like if we're only going to make sure the beginning, middle, and end are smooth, technically, all we have to do is make a couple little pillars, like a little block. I could do it with concrete, but what I would need is a mile long, and if I do it like this, I could go 2 miles, okay, so it's more apparent, but I can do, well, let's keep it 1 mile for simplicity's sake. So I'll get 2 water levels each a mile long, okay, or I could just use one and do it twice, but I'll make instead of building a wall a mile long, I can just get the water level, make a mini wall, just about a foot wide or whatever, and 2 foot tall, and 6 inches thick or whatever, just like a little, almost like a headstone at the beginning, and measure it down from the bottom of the water, from the top of the water level to 2 foot down, because we might get thinking about what they might complain about. What they might complain about is the bottom of the stone. So we mark 2 foot down on each stone, and we level the top of the tombstone looking thing. We level the top with the water level. Okay, we do one at the beginning. We do one at the middle. We build another little 2 foot tall, 1 foot wide, 6 foot thick, or 6 inches thick. I'm just calling it tombstone.
Oh shoot!
And then one at the end. So the point is that we mark them 2 foot down from the top of the water, and then we lay them down exactly 45 degrees from where they started, and we're basically taking that water level and flipping it on its side. So because Jeremy had a point.
I like this.
We don't need the whole damn wall in between, and this links me closer to what Bev is thinking. Bev is kind of trying to be demonstrating this just with this describing horizontal, and I understand it now what he's thinking, because it does make sense. The more you think about this, the more you can think that, okay, how could this happen? Okay, so if we just do 2 water levels right next to each other, say 4 foot apart, okay, and we got a 2 foot tall wall on one water level, just or a tombstone, and a 2 foot tall on the other, and we just run a straight line, and then we flop them toward each other. How could they be different distances? I mean, it's almost so simple thinking about it. You don't even have to do it, because if they're 4 foot apart, they're going to remain 4 foot apart. Basically, all we have to do is run a long string line and see if it's parallel. If it's parallel, bam, it's not a ball. But just for visual sake, I'm willing to do the long water level and the 3 tombstones to measure and show on a video. You know,
I would use like 6. I would use like 6 tombstones or whatever, 6 pieces. And you could do this 3, 4, 5 miles if you just kept taking one water level to another stone and then to the next stone and then you just tip those over instead of having the whole wall. Brian, I would kiss you right now.
So let me
Super
kind of
saying that the other
clarify
day.
it and make sure I understand, which I think I do. So you're going to have, like, let's say 3 tombstones, as you described, 3 of these 4-foot high walls, and you're going to.
Yeah, they don't have to be concrete. I'm just saying that just to give something for somebody to picture. So yeah, go ahead.
I got
Top,
you.
yeah.
So
The
they're
top of them is level with the water level.
They're 2 rows right next to each other, just like we were going to do the canals.
well. Hold on.
Right next to each other.
All right. So they're about 4 foot tall. They're spread out. So let's just say a mile for now, right? One on each end and one in the middle. You're going to level those with a water level to make sure those are the same height. Then you're going to tip them onto their side, and you're going to measure the deviation from a straight line. Is that right?
Right. We're gonna tip them on their side. We're gonna get it level with the top, and 4 foot sounds better. And then we're gonna mark it like, say, 2 foot down. I was thinking about the 2 foot tall because I don't want the ground to play no part of this. So I was gonna do it up off the ground a little bit, and 4 foot would probably be better. A 4 foot tombstone, and then we get the top of the tombstone. I mowed it level with the water level. So what we know for sure.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
You do this just like we were going to do the other one, Brandon, except you use just 3 of the tombstone things, but you need 6 of them because you're going to want to do 2 side by side. So when you tip them over, they're facing each other, and then you measure the distance from the end ones to the middle ones to the other end ones. You know what I'm saying? Same thing, except we don't need the whole wall.
Right.
Tip them 90
We don't
degrees.
need the whole damn wall.
And we don't have to worry about it bending like a spaghetti noodle.
In other words, you could picture the whole wall if you wanted to.
Nah, you're the man,
The
Brian.
whole wall is unnecessary. Everything in between is irrelevant. This is why it's important we voice our ideas, guys. Because just what they said led me to thinking, and then Jeremy just talking out loud saying, we don't really need to grind the whole wall, just the beginning, middle, and end. And that got me thinking, so what the hell's the in between is kind of pointless. So just voicing our ideas, and then me voicing this will help Jeremy, like, figure a way to better this, And that's why it's very important.
Hold on, I'm still not sure I understand. So there might still be some people in the audience that are confused too. So you've got the 3 tombstones, the 3 wall sections, spread out a mile apart. You're marking 2 feet down from the water level on the wall.
Yeah, on the tombstone, and then we drop it down 45 degrees. Them marks are just they're pretty much just there just in case somebody tries to say, well, the bottoms ain't level. Then okay, well, we mark 2 feet off the top, so each one we can measure it from the bottom if you want, from the 2 feet mark. In other words, we have more than one mark. The marks are kind of arbitrary, just in case somebody complains about the bottom.
Oh,
I haven't seen.
And then what's the next step? Hold on, let me. Yeah. Maybe we will draw a diagram. But what's the next step after you make the mark?
Okay, then we measure 45 degrees. Okay, we measure 45 degrees from the mark.
Okay.
And we mark that on the ground. Okay, 45 degrees, and so it should be about a foot. It should be about 1.5 feet down. I mean, I should know this off the top of my head, but we measure 45 degrees to the ground from that 2 foot mark, and or from the top. We just got to make sure that we line them up on that. We flip them all equally.
Okay.
So you could use any degrees. That's another arbitrary number. Just as long as you flip them all exactly.
Okay, so this is interesting. So you're marking you're marking 45 degrees from the wall down towards the ground. Then you're marking the spot on the ground where that 45 hits the ground, right?
Yeah, just in case it shifts when we lay it over.
Okay, so then you're laying the wall
after we
over.
Mark the ground, and we line up exactly up at that mark. Okay, that way the ground underneath played no part in where our shit sits. It's just the water, and 2 foot down from the water with a 45-degree angle casted for accuracy's sake.
I still don't get it.
Mic check.
Instead of
everyone.
making, yeah, we hear you. Instead of making just 3 of them in one row, you make 6 of them, just like we were gonna do the 2 canals side by side. You make 2 rows of these, so you need 6 of them, and then you face them in towards each other, just like Brian was saying, and then you measure from one to the other. No need to make a straight line after. I would just do 6 of them.
Yeah, and for anybody who didn't see that, picture 2 1-mile canals right next to each other. Now picture them frozen solid. Now stand them up sideways, facing each other. And if the Earth is curved, then the middle is going to be closer. The middles of the 2 canals stood up on their ends that are frozen solid will be closer to each other than the 2 ends. No matter how you do it.
So I'm trying to picture this.
Over accurately the same equidistant.
Yeah, that's fine, Brian, but what about these sections you're doing? I just tuned in, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Let me try to.
All right, think about this.
Let me try to keep clarifying it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've got these. These are each half a mile apart, right? 2 on the ends, 1 in the middle. I've got these walls. Now I am going to take my water level, and I'll just
hang on a second, Brandon.
Yeah.
These sections you're talking about, physically, how big are they?
4 foot tall.
They could be
4 foot tall. How wide?
For simplicity's sake.
How wide?
2 foot wide, or no, 1 foot wide, just for simplicity's sake.
Okay, so you basically got
3 posts.
a rectangular monument, 4 foot tall, 1 foot wide.
Yeah,
stuck
like a
into the
tombstone.
ground, and
But
vertically
we could use
positioned.
anything, George.
Vertically.
Vertically
Hold on.
positioned.
Okay.
We could use anything, George.
So let me keep trying to clarify, because I'm building a diagram too. So I take my water level and I go up to the first post, and I take it to the second post, right? And I'm gonna mark a line on the wall.
Hold on, you've got a water level pipe going from the end to the middle.
So there's a pipe. Okay, so this is a water level like this, right?
Okay.
So here's the pipe. I'll put the pipe on there. All right, so there's my water level pipe, and then I am going to mark the wall, because I think you're a little ahead of us, Brian. Some people aren't understanding. So I make the mark on the wall here, and I'm going to do
So
that.
you can do this optically. You can do this optically, so you can be subject to refraction.
No, not optically. I think you're doing it. You're walking up to it. You're using a water level, so you're not doing it optically.
Yeah.
Right?
No optics.
And then a tape,
Brandon?
then a tape measure. So no optics.
What's the spacing between these 3
Brian, you are
posts?
the
Half a mile, but
man,
guys,
Brian.
you guys are way ahead of us. So just hold on a minute, okay? So you've got this, you've got these 2, and then you're going to do the same thing on the third one. So you've got 3 monuments, each half a mile apart, that have a mark on them that are. Why won't this one copy? There it is. That are.
But these
that are. There's a
these
mark
aren't-
on the wall at each the same height. Is this correct so far, Brian? And the green line is the mark on the wall. that you made.
So in other words, you have the top of the pillars level with the water in the water level.
Right, but these
then you
aren't.
have a mark to.
Yeah, but these are going to be bent.
Foot down, and then we're gonna have them.
All right, hold
We're
on.
gonna have them 4 foot. We're gonna have them 8 foot apart.
Okay, so 8 foot apart. What do you mean 8 foot apart? We were talking about a mile before.
Well, if we do 2 rows, like Jeremy's saying, and if we do two rows, then we're gonna
we haven't got
do
the
1
first
row,
post.
and then we're
Hold
gonna
on,
do
Rumpus.
over 8 foot and do another row.
All right, so
It's gotta be.
Hold on, we haven't
Can
got
I
the
ask-
first
hold on,
post.
hold on a minute, Rumpus. Just let me clarify this, please, and then
Yeah,
I'll give you some time to ask questions. But I want to get this diagram done so we can understand what's going on
Yeah,
here.
yeah. They're good stuff.
Okay, so you've got the 3 water levels
Right.
on the
And
3,
let me say one thing real
let's
quick.
just say we're going over a mile right now, okay? Just for simplicity, sake of the diagram, you're drawing the line. You're making it all even on the top of the. All of these are even. They're all at the same level above the earth. The top of the tombstones are at the same altitude. Correct?
Brandon, you should draw the middle one a little bit higher so they could picture it on a globe.
Well, I will, but I just want to understand what we're doing here. Okay, but I can do that, I guess.
That's basically what he's telling you, is the tops are all
Let-
to
The
the,
The
same
tops are
height
all
or level with respect to the surface of the
right,
earth.
right. They're all the same altitude. So
Yeah.
let's just act like they're all the same altitude, all three of these tombstones. And then you said something about making a mark 2 foot down from the top, right? On each one of
Yeah.
them.
Arbitrary mark.
All
Yeah,
right.
2 foot down. And let me say one other thing real quick, and I'll back off. The reason we can go as long as we want, but it's going to stop them from weaseling
Oh.
You're breaking
is
up.
our
Brian.
arbitrary mark, and also the fact that we can run a string line. We can, hold on. Okay, hold on.
Hold on,
We
hold
can
on,
run a
Brian.
string
Hold on,
line
Brian.
one
Hold on,
way
Brian.
forward. As long as
Brian.
it's not touching
Brian.
the ground, it'll always.
Brian,
Brian,
let me
a
walk through
suggestion,
it.
Brian.
Hold on, George.
You're talking too
George.
But he's talking too fast. He needs to slow
I
down.
know.
and
I'm
get these
trying
thoughts
to.
together.
I'm trying to. Just hold on. I'm trying to get it out of Brian because he's got a lot of stuff in there. I want to get it out so other people understand it. So what am I doing now that I've got my line on the tombstones, on each of the tombstones? And this isn't a line that's strung across all three. This is a line on each tombstone, right? There's nothing connecting all of the tombstones yet. There's just a line at the same altitude on each tombstone. All right, so here's our line at the
basically what
same
you have
altitude on each tombstone, and then you said something about making a 45-degree angle and drawing on the floor. So here's my 45, and why am I doing this? Again, Brian.
Because when you roll them over sideways, you want them the same height. Okay, that way we.
Wait, stop.
Make a
What do you
mark.
mean roll them over sideways?
He's going to push them
Turn
over
90
George,
degrees.
onto their side. That's the whole point.
Oh,
So
really?
you
So that
get-
they're so that along their axis they're horizontal rather than vertical?
The only thing they could claim is that the string line we run a mile long is not straight, and we know that.
String
there's no
line.
way-
Where did the string
we
line
might
come
have
from?
a
Hold
stack
on,
up
hold
and down
on,
the side, we know we
Rumpus
can run
and
a string line
George.
straight.
Hold
Well,
on.
what string line? He's only mentioned a string line.
Let me step through. I'm going to mute you guys
Rumpus.
if you don't let me step through it with them, because we're never going to get there
Yeah, I want
if you don't let me step through it.
Brandon,
Just hold on.
Brandon, I want you to take them a step at a time. Don't let him jump ahead or backwards.
You
or
guys
whatever.
aren't helping by
I will
jumping in the
stay
middle
quiet.
because I've got to try
I
to.
will stay quiet.
Yeah.
I will stay quiet.
Okay.
I reckon he needs five. I reckon he needs 5 minutes.
Step at a time.
Okay.
I reckon he needs 5 minutes.
When we run our water level, we're gonna line our tombstones up with a string line because we know we can get a string line straight horizontally. We know that there's going to be no curve in the string line. We're going to make sure they're lined up exactly.
Hold on. Let's not get excited.
Weasel out.
Okay, hold on,
listen
Brian.
to me.
So I got the 45-degree angle, and I've made a mark under or next to each one. So you'll have to just envision that this is on the side of each one, right? It's on the side of each one. So these should all be
Exactly.
about whatever height distance that is from the bottom. On the ground next to it, we'll have a line. Now, what am I doing with this line? I'm going to
Now,
turn these over.
What we do, okay? So what we do is we go 45 degrees, and we make a mark from that 2-foot line to the ground, 45 degrees. Whether we got to dig it down or whether we got to build it up with dirt, we've got to make sure that each one of them is exactly the same distance from that 2-foot line, 45 degrees down to the ground. So there might be some lifting and lowering involved. The ground underneath doesn't matter. I'm trying to make sure the ground underneath doesn't matter one bit, and we're going to run a string line and make sure the 3 tombstones in each row are dead lined up straight.
Okay, so we're running a string line now.
Dictates the height.
Okay, so we got the marks on the ground, so we don't need to turn the tombstones over, right? We've got the marks. Is that right? So I go.
Not yet.
Guys,
Okay, so then I make
Guys.
the line
Yeah,
across all of them.
Jeremy's got a good idea too. Let's see if it doesn't work with me, we'll give him a chance. But,
Listen,
yeah,
listen,
ask
you
me
don't
anything
need-
want.
Okay.
You don't need to make a string. You don't need to make a string line. You do it the same exact way we were going to do it before. With two rows, you make 2 rows of these tombstones, and you flip them in towards each other, and then you measure the distance away from the tops of each of them. You could extend this 20 miles if we wanted, if we had the room for it.
All right.
How do you know the well's straight, Jeremy? Got it. You need a string line.
You're measuring them against what?
So this is a whole different.
It doesn't matter. See, sag doesn't matter. This is a string line from side to side string line. We got to make sure it's straight and it's not veering off to the right or the left or wiggling. That sag does play no part in this. That's the only way they're going to try and weasel out is say that we're curving with the earth one way. So we got to run a string line down that mile and make sure that each stone is lined up.
Brian?
Okay, so
Brian,
we've got
can
the
I-
now we're
weasel out.
changing. So hear me out here. So what you're saying, Jeremy, is we got the tombstones. We're gonna run a string line because we can get it left and we can pull it straight. We don't have to worry about the sag because it's left to right potentially, right? So there's no sag involved. We're gonna line these tombstones up, and now what are we gonna do? We're gonna have 2 rows of them, right?
We're going to have 2 rows, and the top of them represent the top of the canal or the top of the water. So only thing we know at this point, we know we have 2 rows of 3 tombstones, okay? We know that the tops are level with water, okay? We know that
No,
each
you don't.
one of them
You
is
don't
40.
know that because you have got a water level that's going to only show you the it's going to be an
he's
angle.
right,
It's going to be an angle. You're gonna. These 2 things are not going to be in a straight line. Carry on. I'll get back to you.
All right. So you're gonna have these in a straight line, and then you're going to. You said something about tipping them over, right? So why are we tipping them over?
So we can measure the middle from the end.
Measure the middle from the end. So
Because if we did 2 1-mile long walls and we tipped them in toward each other, the middles would be touching and the ends would be a few inches veering outward, right? That's why I want to do just one stretch of tombstones, and I want to go a few miles of water line and just line up with a string line, so they don't say nothing about the earth curve and bullshit like that. So I'm trying to find out ways to eliminate their argument before it even happens.
hold on a minute. I'm still trying to understand. So I've tipped them. I've tipped them over now. And now, if you're saying that they're on each model, the distance between the tops of them is going to be different, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, he's trying to measure the distance widthways from each other to see if they're offset.
Right.
And if you line all the
to be honest, you're talking about maybe 20 meters or so. What's the curve over 20 meters?
No, we're talking about a mile now.
If he does this over a mile,
Yeah, but he's doing it widthways, not lengthways. He's not doing it the length of the mile. He's trying to roll them into each other so they touch each other.
I thought you were still doing a mile.
Yeah, he's doing a mile, but
No,
he's
it's not.
They're only like 8 foot apart. In my head, I got them 8 foot apart.
8 foot.
Brian, you're lining all.
You see the ones. You see the ones on the right.
Yeah.
You're setting the tops, Brian, so that they're all level.
Right.
When you tip them towards one another, there isn't going to be any difference in the gaps because each pair is at the same height.
Wait a minute.
The same level.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Keep them close together so they're on the same.
Yes, there
so they're on
should.
the same longitude.
Yes, there should, George. Yes, there should.
No.
Because let's imagine. I know what they're saying. Now let me get this out, and then we can talk about if it's correct or not. Because I'm just brainstorming and thinking on the fly. All right. So let's say we created 2 walls that were this long, like we've been talking about. We make the level, the top level, and then we've been talking about tipping them over and matching them up. So what I think Brian and Jeremy are saying is, well, you don't need to build the whole wall, just build sections of it, line them up like you would a wall, level them like you would a wall, but then tip them over and you can do the same comparison as long as you keep them lined up.
Yeah, you push them together basically. And
right. We don't want to
saying
spread them out
the
because then they're gonna start using latitudes not lining up. We want to keep them real close together so they're on the so that's not an argument, and we want to make sure they're tipped over equidistantly so there's no weaseling out of this one. It could be they could be further apart edges. If we're on a globe, that's what's going to happen. You know, we pretty much all agreed to that, including Rumpus and all them, and
I
just
think
got to
it'd be
think
too
about
small
it
to
and
measure.
draw it.
I think the difference would be too small to measure.
It's just the distance that is not long enough to notice the difference between a flat world or a round world. It's not long enough.
What's not the what? Wait, hold on. What
It's
distance
not the
are you
length,
guys
it's the
talking
width.
about? Because there's been a lot of distances bandied around. 20 meters, a mile. I think if you went a couple miles, 2 or 3 miles, there would be.
Brandon, is this a plan view you're showing us?
Sorry, what?
Is this a plan? What you've drawn on screen with these rectangles, is this a plan view of something?
Yeah, from the top down.
He's talking about orthogonal.
Yeah, this is from the top down view.
Plan view, right? It's called a plan view. It's a plan view is the normal way to refer to it, right? Yeah.
Okay. What would be the difference between having the wall in just sections like this versus what we've been talking about, creating the whole wall and tipping the whole wall over? What would be the difference
It's
between
too hard
those
to
two?
tip the whole wall. It's too hard to tip the whole wall. This is much easier, and you're not going to get any bending or twisting like a spaghetti noodle, like they've been saying.
I
This is
understand
it right
that,
here,
but
I'm
does
telling
this
you.
give us the same measurement that we
Same
would
thing.
expect with the
Same
whole
thing.
wall?
If the
Same
water's the
thing, and we
same,
can go much farther. Same thing, and we can go much farther, Brandon.
No, I don't think. Listen, I think you're all missing the point. They're too close together to start to get any discernible difference. Even though you're doing it lengthways, and it makes you think to yourself, okay, if you did it 2 or 3 miles, there should be a massive gap at each end. It just wouldn't work. It's like train tracks. You could lay out 10 miles of train tracks. They're parallel to each other, but they won't be suddenly diverging at the ends. Because they're going over different pieces of the hump. It's not going to work.
No,
they're too close together.
No, hold on. Let me explain to Ranty, because I think I understand what you're saying, Ranty. But imagine you create a wall, let's say 3 miles long, right? And you make sure the top of it is completely level. So you measure it with water. It's the same altitude above the surface of the earth. You create another wall right next to it, same thing. So it's level. And then you push those two over on a flat plane. There would be a measurable. It would mimic the shape of the top of the earth. So there would be a measurable deviation of. Let's see. If you push two of the ends together, let's say push two of the ends together, the other side would have to be 12 feet apart, right, guys? And if you push the middles together, each end would be a foot and a half apart, right? Or 3 feet apart total.
Man, bro.
I think
maybe. But so let's picture the 10-degree latitude. Picture the 10-degree latitude.
Hold on, let me see if Randy understands. On a ball, that's what would have to happen. The ends would be apart. On a flat plane, they would butt right up against each other. There wouldn't be any difference because you've created two parallel lines on a flat plane, whereas you've created two curved lines because the surface of water supposedly curves over the ball. So if you push those two surfaces together, you would be pushing two curves together, and it'd just be like taking the top of the earth out of two patches and butting it against each other. You'd see the curvature. You understand?
The width. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you're still not understanding the widths between the two sets of walls. If you set them up 5 feet apart, you're only going to be measuring 5 feet of curvature from one side to the other, and you've got to sort of like get that in a calculation. Well, what's the curvature over 5 feet? Well, what is it? 0.5 millimeter, let's say. Can you?
No, but wait. Why are you saying 5 feet? Because we're talking about a 3 mile long. Like it'd be 3 miles from this one to this one.
From which?
We can't
see which one?
Oh, you guys can't see it.
Hang on, wait a minute. You're talking about lengthways, a mile long, yeah? And how far are you separating them? The two lines.
They're separated just far enough.
They need to be close, so longitude doesn't matter.
That's what I mean. So it's how close they are to each other that is going to be the curvature that you're going to be measuring by, not the length of the wall. It's going to be how close the walls are to each other.
No, it's not. It is the length of the wall.
Line of latitude.
It's
no.
It is. It is.
Picture the 10-degree line of latitude and a 0 degree, and then the other 10-degree line of latitude. Picture both 10-degree lines of latitude and flop them over towards 0 degrees. Okay, there's going to have to be a difference between the distance of the middle and the distance of the end.
I'll show you. Let's say we took a slice out of the earth, Ranty. We took a slice out of the earth. We cut the top of the earth, the bottom of the earth, and we had this flat section of the earth. And then we had another flat section of the earth, and we butted them up against each other.
Yeah, I understand this. Yeah, I understand. But So you're going to point the first part of each wall. You're going to put them 5 foot apart, yeah. And then the second one, you're going to put 5
You're going to
feet
put
apart.
the whole, yeah, the whole thing is going to be, these would be the separate amount apart.
And then you think when you roll them together, there's going to be a difference if you've actually measured them to be 5 feet apart.
They do. They think there's going to be a difference. We discussed it the other night with a wall, and what we realized it'd be too hard to do that. They're right, and all we need is the 3 sections to measure.
No,
We
this
can
is the
measure it
flaw
millimeter
that
accurate.
this is the flaw that I was thinking.
If you've got 2 bricks and you put them 5 feet apart, and then you walk half a mile away and you put 2 more bricks down and you measure them 5 feet apart, and then you walk a bit further and you do the same. If you then start to push those bricks together again, they are going to have the same measurements between them.
But not if your brain
We're
thinks
not
like a
pushing
globe,
the
Randy.
bricks.
If
We're
your-
not pushing the bricks.
If
We're
your
just
brain
tilting
thinks like a
them over.
globe,
not
then you're
pushing the
thinking that
bricks
water
over.
is arching.
Jeremy, your mic's low.
Brian, Ranty's got it right. I mean, if you start out with your dominoes or your posts all at the same height and you rotate them 90 degrees towards one another, when they're lined up in a straight line, you're just going to all touch one another. You're not going to discern any curve. Ranty,
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Here's the thing is that according
it
to
doesn't
the,
matter whether you're on a flat or a curved earth. The result will be the same in that
no,
scenario.
it wouldn't be. The arc would be more in measurement if there was an arc versus a flat plane.
So what would be the difference? Hold on. What would be the difference between doing it this way with the sections of the wall versus having the whole wall and flipping it on its side? Because having the whole wall, and we've all agreed, would give
When
you
have
the
the wall,
deviation.
you're preserving the difference between you're
wall.
preserving the curve. But if you do it in sections and you then turn on its side, you won't be.
It doesn't matter, Rumpus. In the first
I think you
scenario,
guys are
with
wrong because you know why? You know why you're wrong?
Brandon,
Because on a
listen a
fucking
minute.
sphere, parallel lines diverge or converge, don't they? Don't
it's not
they?
the same experiment.
Don't
It's not
they?
the same experiment.
On a
It's not-
sphere, parallel lines converge, right?
That's what they say about the geodesics. The geodesics claim that the lines
It's
curve.
not the same experiment. In the first case, you started with a wall that's laying on the surface of the earth. Now you're starting with a wall where you're measuring, putting everything at the same level. It's not the same experiment.
Yes, it is.
It's the same fucking experiment.
Can I draw a diagram and get Brian to explain? 'Cause
Absolutely.
Right, great. 'Cause you've exhausted there. Well done, Brandon, for trying anyway. But I don't
Okay,
understand
thanks.
what's going
Thank you.
on. But so I'm going to give it a go and then see if Brian can explain it because I don't understand. I know, and I've just been speaking to several other people who have no idea what's going on here.
Well, let's clarify, Rumpus. Let's clarify that the other day you agreed.
So I know, yeah,
The
but it's
other
not
day
the
you
same.
did agree that the middle would be
I did.
touching and the
The
ends would be
previous thing, I did
farther
agree with
away.
the previous thing. I did. I'm not going back on anything I've said previously, but I don't understand your current system. I'm just utilizing this diagram I've done here previously, which sort of vaguely is similar. I could get rid of these. Let me get rid of these little these chappies here. Right. So there are 3 posts, which you were talking about. So let me. So Brian, I'm sorry I didn't understand you. I'm not being stupid. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I apologise if I'm being a bit stupid and not understanding what's going on. So you're going to put 3 posts in effectively what they've got marked as the blue posts here, and they're all going to be the same level. In other words, they're going to have the same elevation. You could even just do it with water. You could just simply have a canal or something and say,
We are going to do it with water.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah, you could do it with a canal. Yeah, you could do it with a
You don't
canal.
need water levels or anything. You could have just put it next to a river. Well, not river because that's going down.
Exactly.
You could put it,
Exactly.
You could put a
Yes, you
canal
could.
or an ocean or whatever. So therefore I was on the globe model. That's going to curve like I've got here, and then you're going to put 3 staffs or posts or something, or these tombstones which I'm representing with these 3 blobs. So then, if you could fix these posts with respect to one, which is how you had it originally. If there was a concrete join between these 3 posts, and then you lay them down on their side, you're going to preserve the curve you had. But you're not now. You're just simply going to have these 3 posts, and then you need to preserve this part. Hold on, nearly there. You just need to preserve. Oh, damn it!
I'm about to be in a bad spot where I'm at, so can I just interject? I'm sorry, Ryan.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm about to not get any signal. I won't even hear what you guys say to this, but this is the same exact thing we were going to do with the very long piece, the half-mile long piece of concrete we wanted to do.
But it's
This
not.
is the same exact thing.
Okay, perhaps I've misunderstood that. How are you preserved? Because the whole point about this is that you need to
The only
preserve.
difference is, Rumpus, is in between the segments of string line instead of concrete.
Listen-
That's the only difference. Is that in between the 3 segments is no longer a mile of concrete. It's string line and a section at the beginning,
So you've
middle,
got
and
some
end.
random
So
string.
the
you're now
question
saying,
is, our parallel lines
angle
parallel.
like this or
Rumpus, listen to me. Listen to me. I can explain it to you. All right.
Okay.
The first step in this process is to draw the string across the 3 miles so that it is straight. It doesn't matter the sag because you're only talking about left to right.
You mean you've got a dotted line where you've got some string then? Well, I've got a dotted line
Right.
here.
All you need is a straight line
Yeah,
on the
your
ground.
circle is
Okay.
actually a circle. That's the
That
question.
on that straight line, that's where you're going to put your bricks.
Right, well, this is not straight, it's sagging, but you said it doesn't
No,
matter
we
for
don't
some
matter about the sag. We're just worried about from the plan view. We're just worried about left to right. We just need it to be straight from point A to point B 3 miles away. We need a straight
well,
line.
I don't mind. That's not the issue as far as I'm concerned.
I know, but listen to
We
me. Listen to me, because I think I can explain it to you now. You get that first line on the ground. From that center of that line, you're going to measure over, say, some distance, 6 feet, whatever. Where that 6 feet point is, you're going to create another line that's parallel to the first line next to it, right? You should have a divergence at the ends of those lines if they're parallel, right? On a sphere?
Yeah, they will be parallel sphere as well, so I don't see what you're getting.
They will
The thing
diverge. Parallel
won't.
lines diverge on a sphere.
No, they won't.
Do parallel lines diverge on a sphere, Rumpus?
Effectively, no.
Yes, they do.
That's a different,
Why
no,
would
they don't.
parallel lines
No,
diverge
no,
on a
they don't.
sphere?
No, they don't.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at the top of the surface? Rumpus, Rumpus, listen. You've driven. You've drawn here. Listen, Rumpus. Hold on, Rumpus. In your demonstration here, you have 3 poles that are diverging from each other.
Be quiet. Be quiet.
So what are you talking about? You have 3 poles here diverging from each other, dude.
On a sphere are parallel.
Rumpus, you show, but your So show your demo. So why doesn't your demonstration show it? Why doesn't your demonstration show
The only
it?
thing you get on a sphere.
Why doesn't your demonstration show
There's
it?
a different issue about diverging on a sphere. If you're going, for instance,
Rumpus, your orthographic drawing doesn't show it.
If you're going on a line to
Why doesn't your orthographic drawing show it?
So what, Flat?
Divergence when you're
It doesn't show what he's talking about. It's actually showing what Brandon's talking about, which is divergence poles, right?
If you go along lines of longitude, they diverge at the equator and they come back together at the poles. That's a different sort of divergence than the curve of the Earth, which is what we're trying to measure. You're now measuring something very different.
The poles are diverging. You can see it.
So, Brandon,
Because they're pointing down. That's exactly what this experiment is trying to prove, right?
Yeah, proving that you're very dumb.
Lines of longitude. We're projecting lines of longitude.
Right. Well, that's a completely different. You're right. So you're now perhaps a more appropriate thing would be my 3D thing. Then actually, perhaps I'll share that instead.
I was just fucking joking, Rumpus.
Yeah, bring that up.
There's 2 straight lines, dude.
Not latitude.
We're measuring a different thing. Let me show you what you're now proposing to measure, as far as I understand it. I can do. Let me screen grab a different thing, and let me see what you're now show you what I think you're now trying to do, which is very wacky.
Why do you say wacky?
Rumpus,
because you're measuring something completely different from the curve of the Earth.
Yeah, but this is the same thing as the wall that we've been talking about.
No, it's not. It's completely different. Right.
Okay.
Jesus.
All right.
Give me 1 second. Just pick.
Brian,
Picture doing a 3 mile long wall, laying it down, and then just cutting the middles out.
All right.
Here we go. Shady.
Let's let Rumpus have a shot at and
Jesus Christ.
clarifying it.
What you're now doing. So imagine we're here, and you see these lines, which we on a sphere. Those we call those things.
Begging the question already, are you, Rumpus?
Yeah, I only take a few seconds. Right, so now what you seem to be doing is trying to measure. You see, I'm nearly finished. You seem to be trying to measure the divergence as a result of the curve in this direction, which is a different thing to measuring the curve, which you were doing. You're going to build a wall along, say, a line of longitude, and then build another one next to it, and then you're going to put them together. Now you're talking about the divergence that occurs across the line of sight, in effect.
It's
rather
the
than
same
along it,
thing.
which is, no, it's not
Yes.
the same thing. No, the formulas are very different.
No, I don't care about formulas. You can't
Well, you
do
don't
one
know.
without doing the other,
Give me the
Rumpus.
formulas, Rumpus. What's the formula?
You can't do
You're
one
doing
without
it.
doing the other.
You are doing a different thing now.
We're talking about measuring the divergence of two lines on the surface of a sphere, correct?
No,
Two parallel
before.
lines.
No, we weren't
Or
talking about that
convergence,
before.
whatever.
You were not suggesting that
You're in a
before.
different axis, Toy.
Yeah,
You're talking about measuring the hump, if you will. Now you're talking about measuring, for lack of a better word, the squeeze.
You're across the line of sight. You're now talking. You're trying to measure.
For lack of a better
Completely
word,
different
we're
thing.
talking about the squeeze, Brandon.
Well, I'm trying to come up with a way you guys will understand. You know, the measurement of divergence.
I don't.
Please tell me more. Please tell me more about
Rumpus, are you done with your explanation?
Two parallel lines will stay parallel on a sphere.
No, that's incorrect.
Yes, they will.
No, that is incorrect.
In reality, parallel lines do not.
In infinity, they do in infinity. By
On
the way,
a
but doesn't mean
sphere,
no,
parallel lines
Yes, they do.
converge.
No, they don't. Not
Really? So now we're abandoning our non-Euclidean geometry, are we?
No, you see, longitude
I guess.
lines are
Hey,
not
NASA
parallel.
Shill has just abandoned their non-Euclidean geometry.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, then tell me where we're wrong, because this doesn't make any sense. The difference between the wall and the post.
Completely different thing now. A completely different thing. The difference here.
We
What
were
you're
on a
now
straight line.
I'm trying to show you here, Brian. What you're now trying to show is.
Hold on, man. You said a straight line 1,000 miles. We take a right angle and we do another straight line and then another right angle. We get a triangle with 3 lines, asshole. Don't try and change it on us.
No, right. What you're originally doing was you were basically. Let's look at the top here. You were originally trying to build a piece of concrete that followed the curve of the Earth along here, and then you were going to sort of actually make it solid, and then you're going to compare it with another one, and then just turn them onto one another. So you would then have this curve. Hold on, you would have this curve here. Now you're talking about, as I understand it in some wacky way, you're talking about going along a line here and then trying to do another line along a line parallel, and then you've lost the curve of the Earth, and you're now trying to see the divergence that occurs.
Picture this, Rumpus. Picture 2 walls next to each other, okay? And they're 8 feet apart. Just picture this. This is the last thing I'll say. Picture 2 walls 8 foot apart. We do them according to the level of the water, and we turn them 90 degrees facing each other, and we lay them on the ground, and then we cut out chin, and we leave the middle. It's the same example. It's the same as doing a 3 mile long wall as doing 3 spots.
You've changed.
In your model, if we go 1,000, and listen, in your model, it's not parallel. If we go 1,000 miles one direction, we take a 90-degree turn, and then we go another 1,000 miles and then take a 90-degree turn. You have us doing a triangle. Do not.
Right. So you're right. So what you're saying is, oh God, I wish I could draw this on here now. You're talking about a triangle that's going to. Oh, let me go back to my other.
You could build a triangle with 90-degree angles. Do you have any idea how long those lines are?
If we did 2 triangles, they would not be the same length. If we did 2 triangles side by side, the one in the middle would be shorter.
Your legs have to be like 1,600 miles long or something, don't they? I forget the.
Just saying, if we did 2 triangles with straight string lines on a globe, the one to the right would be shorter.
You'd
have one inside of another one.
You're effectively
on a globe. Am I right?
The excess.
Hold on.
I think you're now talking about something called the right. So what you do if you draw a triangle on a sphere, you get. So let's draw. Damn it!
Draw 2 parallel lines on the sphere. This will sink it in, guys.
The reason that the triangle on a sphere looks the way it does is because supposedly the surface has curvature. That's all we're talking about.
Right. What you were talking about now, I think, what you seem to be trying to determine
would
now
be longer or be shorter, right?
Let me just try and draw it.
You can actually do there'd be an equilateral triangle with 90 degrees angles, but the legs are like 1,600 miles long.
Yes, exactly. What you're now talking about is the fact that on a sphere, oh my God, on a sphere, you get this effect. Oh, bloody thing. What the hell's that done?
Now draw a parallel line. One of them's going to be bigger or shorter, depending on which
No.
side you do the parallel line.
Hold on.
Dude,
See,
you
How
can't
do you have
take that
parallel lines in a
back so
triangle?
much you don't even
Right, so on a-
understand.
How do you have
sphere.
parallel lines in a triangle? Did I miss something?
on a sphere, you get this effect when you try and draw a triangle. Where the what the?
We're putting that to
Are
the
you trying to
test,
make
buddy.
it? Are you trying
That's
to
what
put a
we're putting
curve
to
on
the
the
test.
side, Rumpus?
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me just.
And that happens because
There we
of
go, right.
supposedly
There
the
we go.
curvature of the Earth, right?
Right. So
Correct.
yes. So what you're talking about is this effect where the sum of the angles is greater than 180 because of the curve of the Earth, where triangles don't actually go. But you have to go thousands of miles to get this effect.
Rumpus, this is no different than the wall. That's I
It is
don't.
absolutely
I want
totally
No, no,
different.
no,
then
no,
you
the
tell
wall,
me what the difference between this
Right.
and building the wall and flipping them together are.
Right,
That's what I'm asking.
Right, here we go.
Rumpus,
Oh,
Rumpus.
God.
Half an
Are we
hour
building
ago,
parallel or are we building them on different lines of longitude? And how far would you have to go to see the difference in the
Can I
lines of
just do
longitude?
this?
I've got to go. I've got to go. Can I just say one
We're not
thing?
using maps. We're not using latitude or latitude. We're using reality.
Hey guys, I'm about to go. So can I just say one thing?
Sure.
The divergence that you'd be measuring would just be the distance between each of the two parallel lines. That's all it would be. So
Exactly.
if you're on a globe, if you were on a globe, and
Would be right with one, Ranty, but not with two.
and you put them 20 feet apart, you would need to find out how much the Earth curve would be over 20 feet, let's say, and then try and calculate that when you measure the two, when you pull them all together. That's it. It wouldn't be over the length of the wall. It would be the distance.
It would be different for each line, though, Ranty.
Yeah.
I'm going, guys.
Yes, Ranty. It's the distance between the middle and the two ends. The difference. There would be a difference on a globe.
No, it's a difference between the measurement. To calculate the measurement, it wouldn't be like, oh, you've got 3 inches that you can definitely see. You'd be talking about 3/100ths of a millimeter.
No.
Over about 20 feet. Yeah.
Oh, 20 feet, yeah, but not 3 miles. We're talking about 3 miles.
Yeah, but you're measuring 3 miles in length, and it's not the length that's the problem. It's the distance between the two. That's the two parallel lines is the point that you would be measuring the distance from.
One of us isn't understanding, and I'm pretty sure it's not you, but we can talk about it some other time. We'll try to clear it up.
If we freeze an arcing body of water and we turn it sideways, it's going to be. Listen, if we
I think we're making this
freeze
over.
two bodies of water and they're arcing, and we flip them sideways, they're not going to be equidistant.
Right.
If they're arcing, we are.
Brandon, Ranty.
I think we're losing a lot of people with the idea of this flip thing. I think that's what throwing a lot of people off.
No, you guys aren't thinking in 3D.
Can I have an explanation? Can I just offer my interpretation, please?
Can
I offer my interpretation?
Guys.
Let me offer my interpretation, please. Holy cow. Hold on.
Data, let him answer my question. I did ask him a question, and then you can go, Data. Go ahead, Rumpus, and then Data.
Right. Okay, so what you were originally proposing was effectively to build a wall, build a piece of concrete, whatever, that followed a level. So in other words, you'd be building that.
Yep.
And obviously which is great, and then when you flip it, you would then end up with something you could compare against, and you would then see, when you put them together at the edges, you would see there's a difference between them. Great. But that's not what you're proposing to do now. Because you had to turn it on its side to do this. Because obviously you can only do this operation we've got here on the horizontal. So you've had to turn this curve, and then you've had to flip it by rotate it by 90 degrees on the ground, and then put another one you've measured as well on the ground as well, which you've also had to turn by 90 degrees, and then everything's fine. But now you're no longer measuring the arc.
Hold on, Rumpus.
You're not measuring the
Let him finish.
Please. Okay, hold on.
Let me
just get you to look at it this way.
You're no longer talking about the vertical displacement. You're talking about the squeeze will do
between the two. It's just the distance between the two. It's too short.
Exactly.
It's not too short.
Listen, this is
the same thing.
You can look at it.
You've taken the curve over the length, and then you've tried to interpret that as the distance that it would be, or it should be, when you actually place them side by side, and that's not the case. You're using two different formulas for the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
We're not.
I'm right about this, guys.
We're not.
Okay, so hold on. So here, can I explain it? Can I explain
Ranty.
it from my point of view, please?
Setting it up.
So listen, if you
distances between the two parallel lines and your objects are
if you have
the same.
two poles.
There's
George,
no
I said Data could go after Rumpus. Data go, and then George, you
he's
can
got
be
me
next.
muted, dude. He's got me muted,
And
so
I
he can't hear
think
shit.
George.
A half hour ago.
George,
Okay, look, it's
Data
as simple as
was
this,
next.
right?
I'm
If
sorry,
you-
he was talking. I think you might have him muted, so you couldn't hear him.
So listen, between 2 points on a ball, it's obviously displayed in the orthographic image that it's not going to be at a 90 degree from the one position to the second position. They're not going to be parallel to each other or perpendicular to each other, okay? There's obviously a slant there to a degree. So if you had a piece of string, in this particular case, let's say we're going to model a small ball and have 2 points between that small ball, but one length of string. That one length of string between 2 points on a flat surface, you'd measure, and then you would do the difference on the ball, and you would see that little angled degree wouldn't match the length of the string. Basically.
I've no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, you take 2 points on a flat.
Gibberish.
Stop. If we were to take 2 points and measure a length of string, okay, and the string is independent of the earth curve and the shape, it's the length of the string that matters. Between those 2 points, if you have 1 point that's measured at a 90 degree perpendicular and a second point that's on a flat surface at a 90 degree perpendicular, then that length of string will match. Now, obviously, it's relative to the size. It's all relative to the size.
Here's a flat
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I'm trying to draw what you're saying.
Yeah, let me finish, though. Let me
I'm
finish,
trying
please.
to draw what
Let
you're
me
saying.
finish, please.
I haven't understood what you said so far, so I'm trying to get you to clarify so I can draw what
I'll
you're
give
saying.
it like this. We have a 260-foot radius ball Earth, okay? We have 1 point at 0, and then 6 foot away, we have another point, okay? If we were going to make it, so let's say on a 260-foot ball, as an example, so we can do this experiment to
Can you see my
explain.
diagram and see
No,
these
listen
stars?
to me and I'll explain it to you mathematically, you fucktard.
If you
I'll
can't
explain
see,
it to you,
can't
you
be bothered.
fucktard.
I tried.
I'll explain it to you, you fucktard.
You can't.
I'll explain it to you, fucktard. I'll explain it to you, fucktard. I'll explain it to you, fucktard. Hey, fucktard, you ready? Are you ready, fucktard? Are you ready, fucktard? Are you done? Are you done with your fuckface? Are you done with your fucking fuckword, fuckword,
look at the diagram, and you've got nothing to contribute.
Fucking retard fuckface. So anyway, if you have a 5 foot string, or sorry,
Hey guys, no one is hearing anything. No one's going to understand a damn thing if you guys keep acting
so you're
like
not
this.
moderating, Brand. You're not moderating, Brandon. You're letting this fuckface do his
Data, you talk all over people. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, he's
now you're going to
interrupting me,
throw
not letting me
stones
finish
at
my
me
point, man.
moderating. Hey, but in this
you.
case,
Not letting me
Rumpus,
finish.
shut the fuck up and let Data finish his thing, and then you can ask him questions, please.
If we had a 260-foot radius Earth, a ball to experiment on, and we had a measurement of a string that's 6 foot long, okay, and we had a flat piece between that 6 foot, and then we had a curved piece between that 6 foot. That pole between the 2 points of the 90-degree first point perpendicular to the second 6 foot distance on a flat plane, the string would reach tip to tip of the top. But if you had that, let me finish. If you plated these two poles on the 6 foot distance on a 260 foot radius Earth, you'd have about a 2.4 centimeter drop. That 2.4 centimeter drop would affect the two poles points. In other words, there would be a slight degree tilt, and therefore the string wouldn't touch the pole on the second point. And that's as easy as I can do it to explain it to you guys.
You mean the tops and bottoms would be different?
Let me finish.
Let him finish, guys.
I thought he was finished. Sorry.
You can do this math yourself. Take a 260 foot radius Earth. You'll calculate over 6 feet using basic geometry. There'll be about 2.4 centimeter drop for a 6 foot distance. If you were to shrink Earth down, right? Do a 1/100,000 scale, if you will, and you put this. You measure the string because the string is indifferent to the shape of the Earth. The two poles would not line up, and the string wouldn't.
I think what
reach the tip.
this moron is trying to say is that looking at my diagram, the tops of the two poles are further away than the bottoms. That's what he's trying to say, people.
He's a fucktard retard. That's what you are.
Is that what you're trying to say? Is the top of the further apart?
Nessa, shut the fuck up. Rumpus, continue.
No, I'm trying to figure out what the hell he's saying.
Yeah,
is he trying?
I think.
Is he trying to say the tops and the bottoms are different? The tops are further apart than the bottoms.
I think that's what he's trying to say. Yes, I think.
No.
Oh my God! See, we've no idea what you're saying.
Not at all.
Okay, well, forget it then.
You ready? You ready?
No
You
one,
little fucktard
no
face?
one understands
You
what you
ready?
said, Data.
You
no
ready?
one's
You little fucktard
interested.
face.
You're not
You have
prepared to
one
allow me to draw a
string.
diagram.
The
You're
one
not
string
prepared to
is
present a
standard
diagram.
length.
You're not
You
prepared.
don't have a choice in the standard length of string.
Hey,
But
Brandon,
what you're
can I
going to
say
do,
something
you're
Yeah,
going to
right
you're
after
going to
this
use this string
exchange,
between.
George.
Yeah, well,
You're going to use this string
when he shuts up,
between
George, you
2
go.
points.
Yeah.
Now, the point is,
No idea
is
what
you
you're
can take.
saying.
Yeah, because you're a retard and not listening.
No,
so if you take.
you don't know how to explain.
Data, we
things,
might
Dan.
need a
We're gonna
diagram.
staple-
It is pretty.
We're going to
it-
staple the
It's pointless.
string
You
to the
just
top
anybody
of the
understand data?
pole. We're going to staple the string to the top of the pole, and the idea is to have the other part of the string touch the top of the pole for the second pole. The point is if there's a sphere, it won't touch the second pole, and you can do this easily in a small scale version.
I think
Okay.
I'm going to say again, the tops
Can anybody else understand what Data says?
Yes, what he's saying is another example of how to take advantage of the difference between the Euclidean geometry we all know and love on Earth and this imaginary non-Euclidean geometry that would take place on a sphere. That's what he's talking
I'm
about.
showing you Euclidean geometry. You
Oh,
only get
please.
involved in when you're talking. The only thing about this non-Euclidean on a sphere is the fact that parallel lines do come together. That's
Thank
the
you.
only
Thank you for
difference.
saying that.
Well,
If they're arcing,
but
they
it
cannot be
depends.
equidistant. If two arcing lines are laid down flat, they cannot possibly be equidistant. Even if you try and concave it or sphere it, it's like say the equator. Picture a string line around the equator, and then go to 10 degrees latitude.
You're
okay?
not
They're
doing
going
the
to be
same
different
thing as the
sizes.
drop. You're not doing this thing you were doing before.
It is
You're not
essentially
doing-
the same
No, it's-
thing,
no, it's
Rumpus.
not.
It
No, you
is.
just
Understand the geometry.
You're
You
trying to-
don't,
you're trying to-
obviously.
No, I can do the maths for this, Brandon. Can you? No, you can't.
I can
Now you.
clarify this.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I love it when you guys do that. You can't do the math for this.
Well, you can't do it, Brandon. We've
Math is
demonstrated
language
you
of
don't-
science.
you
Shut
can't
the
do
fuck up. I'm
geometry.
going to kick you guys off if you start talking about math. We're speaking conceptually. We're not going to give anybody
No,
a
we're talking about the
fucking math
geometry of the
quiz.
situation. We're talking
We have
about the
plenty of
geometry
people
of the situation,
capable, and I'm
which
sure I could do the
involves
math if I wanted to.
It involves math. No, you
I'm
couldn't.
not so sure.
Yeah, but
I can
anyway,
clarify
here,
this
George has been
without
trying to
math.
speak. Let's let him give a chance to speak, please.
All right. Thank you. I see what's going on, and Ranty saw what was going on. We both understand this. Now, if you try to lay it out,
Dimensions, you understand it.
shut up, Brian.
Let him finish,
If you
Brian.
try to lay out, you can lay out your parallel lines. Okay, say over 3 miles. You set 2 stakes apart, say however far apart you want. 6 feet. You can go 3 miles away, set 2 posts 6 feet apart. And over that distance, it doesn't matter that your longitude lines, which converge or whatever, eventually at the poles. It doesn't matter because the distances are so small compared to the circumference of the Earth. Those lines are not measurably deviating from one another. They're essentially parallel. Oh, shut up, Rumpus. They're essentially parallel for all practical purposes. You're never going to be able to measure deviation of the distance between 2 lines set out that way if you put a string between 2 posts over 3 miles that are separated, say 6 feet apart. You can lay out those 2 lines and they will essentially, for all practical purposes, be parallel as defined for a flat
Now let me
surface.
get you thinking of 3
No.
dimensions, George. Now,
No.
think of your leg. Think of your leg, buddy. Listen, George, freeze your leg. And
Can you
cut it.
control him?
God,
Brandon,
man, go ahead.
I've only got 30 seconds here left, and he just can't shut up. Now, if you set up your posts 4 foot high,
Okay.
say 3 posts, 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, 1 at the end, 3 miles apart, along this 2 straight lines, you have 6 posts. 3 of them on one line, 3 on the other line, directly opposite one another, and you adjust the heights so that they are all at the same height or all same level, and you lay them over 90 degrees. They're all going to touch one another. There isn't going to be any deviation or any gap. This is not the
George.
same experiment as you
George.
initially laid out with a wall. You
George,
disagreed with me, Rumpus.
Are
but
you
are
telling
wrong.
me
What,
that this would work exactly the same on a flat plane and a sphere?
Brandon.
Oh, it is.
Brandon, if you were at the South Pole and you had two parallel lines, say 5 foot apart, how far do you think it would take before they converged? It would be something like going to the North Pole. It's completely different from the
5
drop.
feet apart?
To even 20 feet apart. They'd still take it until...
You guys are not being genuine. Listen, Rumpus, let me ask you a question. Rumpus, in your orthographic drawing...
You freeze the top of your lake, and then you freeze the lake right next to it, and you stand them on their sides. Okay, what we're doing is we're flipping the water. Okay, we're molding the water. Y'all both agreed the other night that if we...
This is a different thing, Ryan. This is a... You're not measuring
It
the
isn't.
vertical drop.
It isn't.
You're now trying to talk about the side-to-side change. How things...
Rumpus, in your orthographic drawing... Listen, in your orthographic drawing, Rumpus, in your
I appreciate that, Bert.
I'm trying to listen to you, Dozer.
Are your poles perpendicular and parallel to each other, or are they diverging?
Are the pole what?
The poles on your orthographic drawing,
This
are they
drawing here, yes.
are they perpendicular and parallel, or are they diverging?
I'm taken.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The poles, the gnomons you have on your sphere, are they perpendicular
but they're not at poles, are they?
Are they perpendicular and parallel, or are they diverging?
Oh, well, yes, these staffs, these blue things, they are diverging from one another.
Awesome, wonderful. Hold on.
Then they converge, depending on whether you're going up or down.
Hold on. Let me finish. Now, if I have one
down,
let me finish.
They're diverging going up.
Let me finish. So if I had one constant length of string and I had two poles, and I would lay the two poles separate from each other, that length of string that was constant, I could measure at the point of divergence. In other words, I could measure on the surface of an Earth, like let's say I had one pole and I started the next pole next to it, and I dragged it along the length of the string, right?
You're dragging it from this way.
Let me finish. Just as an example, we're going to use a small ball, though.
I don't understand what you're saying. Are you dragging a string from pole A, which I call A here?
So listen to
pole
me, what
B.
I'm saying.
Is that what you're doing?
This is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is I'm just taking the pole, the first pole's in the ground, the string's attached to it. The string is already horizontal straight outward. What I'm doing is I'm dragging...
What does that mean, straight outward? I've no idea what you mean by straight outward. Are you drawing it between poles? I've no idea what you're talking about.
So the concept is to have the string meet the point of the tips of the two poles that are in the ground.
As I've drawn here, right? In this
exactly.
diagram, I've got...
The question is do you understand that at the end of the string, or whenever the divergence happens, obviously relative to the size of the sphere, when the drop happens, eventually that straight string, if you're on a flat plane versus a curved surface, there'll be divergence where the string eventually won't match the pole.
Are you trying to say, as I said before, that the string at the top of the poles would be longer than the string connecting the bottom of the poles?
No,
again,
it has nothing to do with two
I have
strings.
no idea what you're talking about, I'm afraid.
Okay, so let's say you're going to make a rectangle shape, and you're going to use two poles, the surface of the Earth, and the string. The string is the horizontal top part, the floor of the Earth, and the two poles. You have now a rectangle. You follow?
Okay, you've got a rectangle. I've got that far. Okay.
Awesome. So the rectangle sitting there. If you're sitting on a curved surface, one of the poles are going to... So let's say you're just going to have the two ends of the rectangle loose. In other words, you can tilt the poles to whatever degree. So let's say on the left side of the
poles to whatever you want. Why are you tilting the poles?
It's a thought experiment just to give you, because you're taking...
Why are you tilting vertical?
Because your second pole or whatever, because the first pole will be perpendicular and parallel to the surface, and the second pole
on a spherical Earth. They're all perpendicular to the Earth on a spherical sphere, as I've drawn them here. All these poles in this diagram, they're all perpendicular to the surface of the Earth.
In your orthographic drawing, it does not show that it's perpendicular.
Yes, it does. For Christ's sake, they
diverge.
Blue things, all these blue poles I've drawn here, are all perpendicular to the surface of the Earth they're on.
Yeah, but from each other, they diverge.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So if you have a string
eventually that second pole will diverge if you're on a surface. Being that you're measuring let's say in this thought experiment, we're going to have a 1 mile length string. We're not worried about sag. We're just going to drag it out straight.
Look, man, we're turning two great circles in toward each other. They can't be equidistant.
That's it.
If you're going to do that, then there you go. Yeah.
It's that simple. We're making two great circles next to each other and turning them on their sides.
Exactly, but two great circles is what I was showing you in Maya in the 3D program.
We're not turning them the same direction, Rumpus. We're turning them opposite each other.
To the drop. That's a different thing to the curve of the Earth. The divergence is a different thing. It's much,
Rumpus, we're turning one to the left and one to the right.
Much, much less.
This is why we're using two lines, y'all. Because if we turn them both to the right, the faces would not be facing each other, and they would be equidistant. But if we flip them in toward each other, then we're turning one to the left, flopping one down to the left, and flopping one down to the right. They're not going to be equidistant.
You're not doing what I'm doing this down here.
Ricky, and y'all in y'all's head, y'all picture it in 2 dimensions. You're picturing turning two great circle lines the same direction. So yeah, they'll be equidistant. But if you turn them in toward each other, they're going to be 2 pounds.
But you're not keeping the shape of the great circle, are you? You've no longer got the vertical drop. You're just worrying about the side-to-side thing now.
All the distances are the same. I'm making sure the distances are the same, so you keep the great circles.
You're measuring the
you're dense, bro.
Left to right. You're not measuring the drop, which is a much bigger thing.
The drop don't matter.
Exactly. You're not measuring drop anymore.
We're going to see if water is bending. We're going to do a great circle. According to you, it's a great fucking circle, dude. According to you, it's a great circle. We're going to turn two great circles in on each other and see if they are parallel.
You don't understand the geometry of the situation.
Right, if you watch my screen, have I understood it correctly?
I understand the trick you're trying to pull.
No, you don't understand the basic geometry of 3D and great circles and the comparison with the drop. You're measuring something completely different now.
All right, we got it, Pebble. Pebble's sharing something now.
We have two great circles, and we turn them sideways, and we butt the middles up. The ends will not be equidistant.
Right. So you've drawn a thing with globe, but there's the drop. There you are measuring something with drop, where you've written globe. That's not what you're now measuring. You've decided to measure something else. You're not measuring the tops going ahead of you. You're measuring some divergence left to right. The divergence is a result of the triangle thing I was showing you earlier.
So a line parallel with the equator does not diverge. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it would actually. Yes, if you had two lines, on the equator, and you went east to west on the equator, there would be no divergence. They would remain parallel.
Even on a barrel, if we took the equator and we turned it over sideways, and we froze the ocean of the equator, okay,
when I was
flipped
saying
it over
earlier,
sideways to the left, and then we froze the northern part of the equator and flipped it over to the right, okay, then you're not going to
when I said earlier lines converge, I think actually Schill was correct. If you were to point north, they would converge. But if you said, I'm going to orientate my lines with some distant stars, they would actually behave like two slices.
I was trying to bring you back to reality, dude.
Let me finish, Brian.
You got no common sense, bro.
Let me finish, Brian. If you were to align your lines with some distant star rather than the North Pole, then Schill would be correct and they would not converge. You would be pointing each line separately and they would remain parallel for all time. And what you would end up doing is cutting two slices, effectively, went around the Earth, that would actually be parallel threads. So it's like an orange. Imagine you had an orange and you decided to cut two slices very close to one another and kept the knife in the same direction, parallel with those two slices parallel. They would remain parallel. So when I just contradicted played NASA Schill, I was talking about if you were going north. But of course, what we're talking about is you're aligning them not by using a compass, but in theory, say, with some distant stars, then they would not converge and you would not get any result at all.
Rumpus, you are, and I want to say something else real quick. In Flat Earth Data's behalf, the other day when y'all were talking about moving the sun down 23 degrees, and you're saying that the rotation wasn't lining up with Polaris, no shit, dumbass. If you're changing the sun angle 23 degrees, then the freaking North Pole is no longer going to line up with Polaris. You have no common sense, because you are a dipshit. Sorry.
I'm no idea. You're being a moron, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just trying to visualize this. Imagine you've got an orange for people. Perhaps this will help it or simplify it. You just got an orange or an apple, whatever, and you just slice it in 2 parallel slots.
Begging the question again,
sphere,
yeah.
On the sphere, the 2 things will still remain parallel. If the way you lined it up, I was thinking you were lining up, say, pointing
and then you
north.
take the peel of the orange, okay, and then you butt them up to each other. They're going to be diverging on the ends. There's no way around this, dude. Think 3 dimensions, not 2.
Yes, but you're not measuring. But then you've got the same problem. Hold on. In which case, what? If you want that right, you are trying to measure the vertical drop then. But you then need to keep that thing rigid, as I drew it here in my thing earlier, with the show that took out an arc. But you're not doing that now. You were talking about you weren't worried about the drop. You were saying you didn't care about the sag and things. Whereas that's the thing you've got to measure. I thought you were talking about the way that things converge or diverge on a sphere. Well, if you're going the same direction towards the north or something. But now you're not saying that. But you said you weren't interested in the sag. I've now no idea what you.
We're interested in the sag.
Me saying longitude, latitude to agree with you, just joking around. You're stuck on that, bro. I was being sarcastic because that's retarded, dude. I was saying longitude to agree with you to be sarcastic, you idiot.
No, the longitude is not an issue. That's not the point. If you do what I drew earlier, where I drew the 2 arcs you were getting, what you were proposing originally, where you'd actually have a concrete arc of the surface of the Earth, then everything works. But I now don't understand how your thing is different now, because you were talking about having a sag in a line, and then you were measuring the divergence due to the things not being parallel.
Just to line up the walls. That's what we were talking about with the line, with the string, Rumpus. Just to line up the walls.
Well, why you don't? But you don't need to line them up. If
you could use a string in order to make them be straight. You could use a string. You could use a theodolite. Whatever tool you want. I would use multiple tools.
No, you don't need to make them straight.
Shut up, Rumpus. You could use multiple tools just to double check yourself. You know what I mean? 2-3 times. This is something I might even
care about.
Rumpus.
The only thing you care about is the vertical drop. You don't care whether they wiggle around. It doesn't really matter. Left to right, as you're looking along them. The only thing you care about is the level as it goes 3 miles into the distance. Okay, you might have a little wiggle in there. That doesn't really matter. If you have it doesn't have to be particularly straight. I mean, just, if it's a few inches either way, it doesn't really matter. What you must have is going on the 3 miles, just basically, close to straight, and then one end the whole thing will be like an arc of a curve, and then you turn it over 90 degrees with another one you've done already, and then you just put them together and you will see the divergence.
Okay.
All this string stuff is irrelevant.
Take that concept that you just talked about, right, with the walls. What Brian is proposing is that you just use 3 sections of the wall. You don't connect the whole wall. You use 3 sections. So the A, B, and the last blue pole on your thing, right? Those would need to be in a line just like they were part of a wall, but you're not going to build the whole wall. Then you turn those 3 sections over 90 degrees.
Because they're no longer connected, and therefore you can't preserve the positions of them unless they're solidly connected.
Though that was my original question. What do you lose by having them disconnected and turning them over rather than having them all as one solid piece and turning them on their side?
Right, because you've got to keep the bases connected together.
Why?
Because otherwise you lose the shape of the posts.
It doesn't matter if the ends come up in the air or not, Rumpus. They're going to be further apart, dude. Why do you keep thinking in 2 dimensions, dude?
No,
you're being impossible.
No, you're not understanding the issue. You've got to keep the respective positions of the posts. You can only do that by making this rigid.
Okay, how about this then? We build 2 rigid walls, we lay them down facing each other, and then we just cut the 2 sections out, leaving both ends in the center. It's going to be the same
This is the same thing. This is the same thing as we were going to do before, except now it's much easier because we don't need to flip a whole giant structure. You're just flipping little things. You could do this with 2 sticks.
But Jeremy, you've got to keep it's got to be rigid, otherwise you'll lose the relative positions of things to one another when you turn it on its side.
It doesn't matter. If we're on a boat,
What do you mean?
and they come up in the air on the ends, boat.
What does that even mean?
It doesn't matter.
God.
Yeah, I know.
Look, you've got this thing. If you can see my diagram, you've got this arc. You've created this arc. If it's solid, then you can do anything you like with it. But if it's not solid, if you don't have this thing, you just simply have the posts. I don't quite understand how you think you've got anything to measure unless you retain the position of the base of the relative positions of the bases of the posts and the top of the posts, and you can only do that by connecting them.
Here's what Rumpus is saying. When you have that wall and you flip it over, imagine that wall on a sphere. That wall would essentially pivot around the center of the wall. You'd push it over, and the two ends, I think this is what he was saying, would kind of flip back, creating that divergent at A and C on his diagram. So when you flip them in together, A and C would kind of shift back. Now, if you had them disconnected and just flipped them over on their side, you wouldn't get that flip back. You would lose what you gain by having it one rigid piece that you flip on its side.
That's sort of right. No, that'll do if they understand that. Yeah, that's sort of it.
But if there was any flip back, it would flip the edges up in the air, okay? And that wouldn't matter. They'd still be different distances apart. You cannot put a smile, okay? Even if we're on a ball, okay? You take and you run two straight lines parallel with each other, equidistant apart, and they're curved, and you turn them sideways, equidistant, okay? They're going to be frowns upside down. They're going to be, it's going to be, they're going to be diverging away from each other at the ends. Doesn't matter if it's a solid wall.
I've no idea. When you say you've just got these three posts, and you've got, I don't know what the point of this string is at all, and then you just simply lay them down. You don't.
The point of the string is just to make it that so that they're in line. That's
okay,
it.
right. Well, okay, that's irrelevant then. Okay, I can forget about that then. But you've got to preserve. You've got this arch. Effectively, you've got this arc here, or arch, whatever you want to think of it as. That shape there, you have to preserve, and you can't do that just by unless it's rigid. You.
Wait a minute. Are you sure you can't? What if you dug out?
I thought level is curved, buddy. If level is curved, and we tilt them over 2 foot at 45 degrees, if level is curved, then yes, it's going to be this. Dude, there's no way out of this, buddy. If level is curved, then they're all going to fall 2 feet forward. I mean, on their side, right? If we mark them 2 foot off the ground and
just
run
want to
at
say,
45 degrees, it's going to be the same distance. Yeah.
Brian, you could do this with sticks. You don't even need concrete blocks or anything. You could just make a mark on a stick.
Yeah, that's what I said. We don't even need concrete. We could just use a stick. Yeah, exactly. I was just trying to stay with the idea that we were talking about the other night. But yeah, I would never use that much concrete. We could use sticks.
I mean, you could have loads of sticks. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have loads of sticks between these things. As many as you wanted. Yes.
Can I simplify this?
Okay.
All you have to do is think of the original experiment where you have your 2 strips of concrete or whatever. You're flat. You're laying your concrete and getting your flat slabs going over a mile or whatever. Think of it as having two ribbons. All right. And you do this so that the ribbons are of the same width. Okay. Say 4 foot in width going over 3 miles. And you have 2 of them parallel to one another, and you butt them up against one another. So there's no gap between them. You have essentially 2 uniform ribbons going over the surface of the earth, 4 foot in width. All right, now you flip them up. So they're vertical. The tops are going to follow the curvature of the earth and be at the same height because we made the widths the same.
So level is not.
This is what he basically has. So if you start with that.
Is not level then.
Oh, shut up, Brian. Shut up a minute. Jesus Christ, you're a rude SOB. You always interrupt everyone.
Can I get a moment when you guys are finished? I think I can clear this up pretty easily.
Yeah, you flip them up. You start with your 2 ribbons along the surface of the earth. Now you flip them up so they're both vertical. Now the tops will all be at the same level. This is the starting point that Brian is starting at. Now when you flip them down 90 degrees, there isn't going to be any gap between them. Ranty sees it. I see it. Why can't you see this simple concept?
Okay, can I just jump in here, guys? And nobody interrupt me, please. Right, so when you're trying to put this, you're trying to put a straight line using a piece of string. So you're trying to straighten out the curve that you're trying to find. You're trying to find curvature, right? going
vertical
from
curvature.
No.
Vertical
well,
curvature.
no, not vertical.
Yes.
It's not vertical, Rumpus.
Yes.
It's not.
Yes,
It's
that's what they're trying to do.
Tram track deviation. You know, train track deviation from side to side.
They're not. No, Brian has said he's not trying to do that now. We misunderstood him or something. He's trying to detect the vertical one. They're trying to repeat the original thing where they're trying to detect vertical drop. They're not trying to do drop the difference horizontally or side to side. They're not trying to do that.
Right.
Is that right? Is that right, Brandon? It's no longer from right.
No, we were never trying to do that. The point of the string is just to line up the posts. That's it.
What they think is going on, Ranty, is that by having having all the tops same elevation, that when they put them together, when they flip them down to right angles, 90 degrees, that the tops are going to deviate from one another, just like you would if you had two walls built flat on the surface of the earth and then flip them up and put them together to see the gap. It's not the same experiment. They just don't see that.
No.
Again,
that's the question.
Ryan, forget about parallel line thing. Think about this. Take your two walls.
It's only dependent on parallel lines.
Ryan, you're not putting your thinking cap on. Just be quiet a minute. Think of taking two ribbons of uniform width and laying it on the surface for 3 miles. This is your wall. You have two of them. You're laying them parallel to one another and lay them out parallel to one another so that they are touching. Okay? So there's no gap between them. You flip them up so they're now vertical. The tops will conform to level. So this is what you're starting with. So you're proposing starting there and then flipping them down on the surface of the earth, and there isn't going to be any gap between them.
Well, okay, first of all, we couldn't even create two parallel lines on the surface of the earth on your sphere model. So there's that.
Yes, you can. Over 3 miles, there's very little deviation.
Not
from
two
what
level
it'd be
parallel
on.
lines. No,
You'd
we
never
can't.
be able to measure the difference. You'd never be
You
able
can,
to.
Brandon, if you decide not to, if you decide to take some distant, well, it depends how, if you decide to put things 5 feet apart and you just build two things, they will be parallel. If you build a wall that's 5 foot apart,
They won't be level.
They will be parallel.
No, we're talking about two level lines next to each
they
other
would be parallel. You could build two walls
on the
that
surface
are
of
level
essentially on the surface of the earth, Rumpus. Two lines on the surface of the earth, two straight lines on the surface will never be parallel.
They would.
Parallel in your non-Euclidean way. We're talking about actual parallel. Show me how you can draw two parallel straight lines on the surface of the earth.
Imagine cutting an orange
hold on
with a knife and parallel thing, and that would be doing it. The cut through the orange would be parallel.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's like the peels. If you cut the peels up and they're going to diverge. If you cut the peels up,
no, they're not.
Shut up a minute.
They only diverge vertically.
Jesus Christ.
Can I interrupt real quick,
being
guys?
rude.
Christ. Real quick,
Brandon. You can draw two parallel lines in any direction on the surface of the earth. They will not follow lines of longitude if you do so.
Yeah.
But you can draw two parallel lines on the surface of the earth. They're just not going to follow lines of longitude. That's all.
Yeah.
Brandon, real quick.
Yeah.
This is the same. Pretend we made the wall. Pretend we made our 1 mile long concrete walls next to each other in the sand like we were going to do.
Yep.
And instead of pretend we did that, but then we just cut 3 little sections out and tipped those over towards each other. You'd be measuring the same thing, except you can skip the giant wall part and just cut the little sections out and flip them towards each other.
I get it. It's the tipping over part. It's the translating that to the surface part. That's the part that I think I have to think through.
Wouldn't be the same on a flat Earth either.
We could first of all, we couldn't even build two parallel level lines next to each other. They would curve on your model.
Vertically.
Yeah.
Not horizontally.
Horizontally, they'll maintain the same distance apart.
Brandon,
and then when we turned them on their side,
Brandon, on an orange, I could just cut into an orange. I held my knife
we understand
parallel.
that, but if you turn them toward each other,
please let me finish
they're
my
not going
sentence.
to be
Let
equidistant.
me finish my sentence, and then you can come back. Brandon, I could get a knife and hold it parallel, make one cut, and then another cut parallel, and then I could look at the two lines on the orange and put the orange back together, and those two lines would be perfectly parallel.
One side's going to be longer
Straight
than the other,
lines.
Rumpus, on an orange.
Straight lines.
Well, no, but obviously they'd be curved, right? But they wouldn't.
Straight lines on the surface of the Earth.
But they would be curved, obviously following the level. But they would be horizontally, if you like, side to side. They would remain that. They would retain the same distance apart. But they would
What
be
Rumpus
curved.
is telling you, Brandon, is this: take a apple and take your orange, make a straight cut through it, and move your knife over so it's in the same parallel to the previous knife. Or take two knives, cleavers, put them so that they're parallel to one another, and cut into an orange.
George,
you'll end up with the space between them that is a circle.
I get it, but listen to me.
uniform-
Listen to me, please. If I did that and I offset that second cut so that I was cutting a equal width section out of that sphere, if I put it back together and looked at the cut that I had made and the shape of it on the surface of the Earth, it would be a fucking curve.
Yes, vertically.
Yeah, vertically from the side, but not looking along it. It wouldn't. Not looking along the cut, they would look exactly parallel.
It wouldn't be a straight line.
Well,
It's a nice curve.
horizontally it would.
Show it to
Obviously
me.
the drop.
You've never cut an orange?
If you're looking along the cut, they would not deviate
So
left to right.
from one
But they would
direction,
obviously-
it would look like a straight line. Yeah, I get that.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Right.
then you flipped it over on its side, and you see, oh shit, it's a giant curve.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
no one's having a problem with that. Right. Great.
Okay.
That's what this experiment's trying to prove, I think, right?
You can have two curved parallel lines. It is that in geometry we actually talk about things that are curved being parallel. I know it's a little bit odd sometimes.
Yeah, we're talking about straight lines. We're talking about straight lines here.
Well, they obviously aren't straight.
Rumpus, you can't draw equal triangles with parallel lines. One of them's going to be smaller than the other one. If you take parallel lines and draw a triangle on a sphere, okay, then one's going to be smaller than the other.
I didn't understand. I didn't hear that. You shouted.
How do you get the word
hey guys,
parallel and triangle in the same sentence?
Hey guys, hold on a minute. I got a couple super chats to read out that I've been ignoring for a while because I've been so into this. So I do apologize to you guys out there. And there was a good question in here. Gordzilla donated $5. I'm hoping this will interrupt Rumpus. My odds are good. At that time, that did not work. Rumpus powered through it and was not aware of it. My fault. Thank you, Gordzilla. Taking Back Eden, Flat Earther. What's up, Taking Back Eden? Rumpus and George. If the Earth is indeed level and not a tilted, spinning planet, is it good that Brandon and others are trying to let others know, in your opinion? Thank you for the question and time. So that was a question for Rumpus and George. Either you want to take a shot at answering?
Yeah,
it?
I'll do. I got a diagram here just for that. I've got just over the left, just to right of where I was before, showing you what level means. Just give me in this diagram.
If we take a 10-mile pole,
He said, but
hypothetical. You don't need to
we
do all
take a
that.
10-mile
Rumpus.
pole and we stand it up in the air. And
Yeah,
then we
you
go,
don't need to do all that.
Hey,
Rumpus.
Brian.
Hypothetical question.
Brian, Rumpus is answering the super chat question, and then we can go back to the previous
bloody
conversation. Don't forget the second part of that, though. Not a tilted spinning planet.
Yeah, here we go. Right, so this is what. Oh God, here we go. If it's over here, right. Right, here is what horizontal and level looks like on a sphere. So you can see here, if we go for point A, the local horizontal is like this, and a plumb line would be vertical up and down, as I've drawn here, vertical down up. And a level is the same distance from the centre of the Earth, although if you use GPS, it gives you to mean sea level. But let's just think of for the moment, simplistic case, that it's, or simplistically, that it's just the distance from the centre. So these dotted lines are level all the way around. And also they're considered flat, so you can also call them flat. This is why flat is level is curved.
No.
Only a horizontal is straight. This is the surveying definition of level. Now, what was this? Now, hopefully that should also answer the second part of the question.
No, but that's
no,
nonsense,
the second
though.
part would,
Zoom
is
into
it
the line.
good? Is it good that Brandon and others are trying to let others know, in your opinion?
Well, you've no idea what you're talking about. So,
Well, let's say the question was, if we're correct, would it be a good thing to let people know that space is fake and all the rest?
Oh, well, obviously, if you were correct, yes, but you're not.
Okay, that was
And
all the
this is
question was, Rumpus. That's it.
Okay, well, I'm showing you what level looks like on a spherical Earth. I've got two levels there.
I got a question for you.
Can you please
We
zoom
know
into
what
the
it
line?
is, Rumpus. We all
Dotted
understand
lines
your
are
model.
the two levels on the Earth.
Straight,
Rumpus, is it
flat is
possible for you to
curved,
zoom in
straight
into the
is
line?
curved, whatever. I'll get it.
No, just flat and level are curved. Those are the only two that are curved. Carry
Okay,
on.
all right. Straight is
Brandon,
curved too, according to today's conversation.
Is it possible to ask
Whoa.
Rumpus for him to zoom into the lines, because he's saying those are parallel and you could clearly see the edges? They're not. This is not what he's saying.
So
Where is the level there? What is it that you're saying that is level exactly?
Right, these two dotted lines are two level lines. This is level A. So all the dotted line here, I've just drawn it dotted just so it's not a solid, so it's slightly distinguished from the surface of the Earth. So I put the dottedness in just as a distinguishing feature from the solid line. And that doesn't mean anything, the fact that it's dotted. That's one. All the points on this diagram are at level A. So I could, if I wanted to, move this thing here, level A, and I could copy it over there, and all the dotted lines at this thing are level A, and all the points on this circle are at level B. They're those are all level points here,
Robert,
and all the other ones are level points at
I
level
can
B.
put an end to this right now. Okay, if you take two string lines on the Earth, okay, they will never be parallel, ever. They will converge, no matter what. No matter what, they would converge, unless you curve them. If you can curve them like lines of latitude, then you can keep them parallel. Only if you curve them. Okay, listen, latitude, they're going to meet at the North Pole. Okay, and latitude lines, you have to curve them. There's no way to keep two lines parallel on a. They're going to be arcing. Rumpus, what don't you understand? Two parallel lines will be arcing.
Brian, that's if you used a compass to align them. But if you did what we were describing earlier, where you thought of using a knife, or if you aligned them with the stars to align them, then they would not converge. They would act like lines of
stars, Rumpus, please, dude. Is there a chance to have two? Can I run two string lines around the Earth?
Right,
okay.
but Brian, it depends on what direction you point them at. If you point them
Rumpus, I'm talking about reality and two parallel lines, equidistant, bro.
Yes, if you point them at Polaris, they remain parallel.
Rumpus, there's no getting around it. On a
they remain parallel.
Rumpus, run 50 parallel lines, okay? On a globe.
I didn't hear that.
Even any direction you want.
Brian, you're distorting. I can't hear what you're saying. You're distorting.
Okay,
just
listen.
Calm down a bit.
Shut up. Listen, run 50 parallel lines, equidistant apart. Okay, you're gonna on an orange or a basketball. You're gonna have to bend them to keep them parallel. There's no getting around it.
No, but
there is no getting around it.
Each slice is parallel to the other slice.
Because you're having to bend it. Okay.
No. Just imagine you sliced it down with 50 slices vertically, and you kept the knife parallel. All of those lines would be parallel to one another. But obviously, this is the curve going along the vertical drop.
That's what we're talking about.
Hold on. I've got an
where the peel
and you can measure that.
One would be longer than the other in every scenario.
Oh, just a second.
I've got an
Brian,
example.
Your original test would measure that. The one over here we were talking about originally, you would capture that curve, and I'm perfectly happy with that if you kept this thing rigid.
I've got an example of that. You're slicing through the Earth. You said latitude lines, two latitude lines, not the equator.
Right. Latitude lines are
parallel. Two latitude lines are straight lines and they're parallel. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when a boat travels along a latitude line, does it have to turn in order to keep going in the same direction to follow the latitude line?
Well, the compass heading would remain the same.
No, does the boat itself have to turn?
Got him thinking again.
No, it shouldn't have to, no.
Oh, you're joking, right, Rumpus? If I'm at 45 degrees latitude and I take my boat out to the Atlantic Ocean and I follow 45 degrees over to Europe, will I have to turn or do I just go straight? Like real straight, not sphere straight, actual straight.
As the boat, as the boat, as you're on the helm, you could do it by just maintaining your east-west course.
I mean,
to end up at the same point east-west of you in Europe.
Will I have to turn my wheel? Will I have to turn the wheel in order to stay on that heading?
Strictly speaking, Brandon, you'll end up in space going along a straight line.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going a straight line.
Thank you. Yeah, so no, you didn't answer my question, though. To follow the latitude line, would I have to turn my boat?
Right. You can only have
Hold on, let him answer. Let him answer. Rumpus, answer the question.
And how are you you're pointing?
I'm following the compass. I'm following the latitude line. That's it. I know where the latitude line is. I'm following it.
I think you wouldn't have to.
You would never have to turn.
Yeah.
Oh, you're joking, right?
It wouldn't be the most efficient way of doing it, because obviously following a great circle would be the more efficient way of getting east to west.
If I follow the latitude line, Rumpus and George, you guys are saying that I wouldn't have to turn my boat.
Yeah,
I think you would have to turn. You'll be going in a straight line as far from your perspective. You'd just be going in a straight line.
No, bullshit. Bullshit.
I think it would only work on the equator.
Could you do a lot of latitude at the North Pole without turning dipshit?
That'll only work at the equator, correct. NASA shill on your model. That will only work in the equator where you just go straight. Everywhere else, if you follow any other latitude line, you would have to turn your boat.
Now, if you go on a great circle route, that would be different.
Oh, we're talking about latitude lines specifically. Paid NASA shill, you seem capable of answering this question. If you followed any latitude line around the Earth other than the equator, would you have to turn your boat?
I believe you would.
Thank you. That's not a straight line.
Wrong.
That shows you, George.
No,
Rumpus
not a
don't
straight
think
line.
in 3 dimensions, dude. They said, no, you don't. That's why I put them up by the North Pole. So do a line of latitude by the North Pole. That's why we're using parallel lines. There's only one equator. The only thing I should have said is you had the equator. That's why we're using parallel lines.
Define what you mean by turn.
That's going to make a great sound clip, George. Thank you.
Yeah, because you could hold the helm in the same position.
Yeah, okay. Theoretically, you could actually, have whatever infinitesimal amount of turn, and you could hold that turn, and you wouldn't be turning. You'd be in a. Do you understand the difference now?
You'd be constantly turning.
You'd be constantly turning, but you wouldn't turn the wheel.
But yeah, I get you. But you would be constantly turning. I get you there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
So you would not be going in a straight line. You'd be constantly turning. Correct, George?
Right, but you would not be turning the wheel.
Okay, gotcha.
You just hold it.
I was trying to simplify things, paid NASA shill, but you are technically correct. I agree.
Now, and if you really wanted to travel the boat in the most effective way, you would go in a great circle route, and that would be a straight line.
Well, when I want to get from point A to point B, I travel in a straight line, and I get there the quickest. That's what I find.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. And on the globe, that's a great circle route. Like if you're going from California to London, you end up over Churchill and Greenland.
Thank you. A straight line is a great circle on a globe. We're going to put that to test in reality.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, and two great circle routes, let's say they're a mile apart. Are they going to be parallel?
Two great circle routes. Are they ending up at the parts that are...
Be. We're not talking about two
Thank
great
you.
circle routes.
Yes, so that is what we are talking about. We are talking about straight lines on the surface of the sphere.
No.
If you had a great circle route that was started a mile away down, let's just say to the right, and ended up a mile away to the right of your destination, I believe those two great circle routes would be parallel.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
If you start off at point A on Rumpus's map, and you're going to point C, now if you start off a mile to say towards us, and you end up a mile, the same direction from C, I do think those two great circle routes would be parallel or damn
Yeah, now
close.
turn them sideways. Now turn them sideways.
Those would be different great circles, and they don't think they would be parallel.
I don't think you can have two
If you-
parallel
right,
great
if one
circle
of them
routes.
Same destination. If you
Yeah,
end up saying-
that's probably
but also if
right.
you-
They'd be pretty damn close though.
Yes.
I mean, I'm almost indistinguishable. Yeah, okay, you're probably right because they're great circle routes. You have to go through the center, so it would intersect eventually, but they'd be pretty
Brandon
close.
is correct. Two great circle routes cannot be parallel because great
That's true.
circle route is that.
Yeah, I got you. You're correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if our two lines are parallel,
Brian,
George,
Jesus, Brian, give it a zip.
you're answering your own questions, dude.
But you
I'm
can
just saying, circle route
the
is
slice
that
thing.
which is traced by a, if you
But the
slice
slice,
through the
do you understand
slice
the
through
slice analogy? Brian, do you understand the slice analogy here?
Yeah, I get the slice analogy, but do you understand that, what I was saying was you're essentially talking about a latitude line, and that would be a curve on the surface of the Earth?
But the latitude line and the slice lines are... Okay, if it's not directly across...
It would have to be like a latitude line.
Okay, it could be a latitude line. So you're slicing, okay, and then what? And then was this proving?
You guys were using it
The
as your
latitude
example
lines-
to prove that
latitude
you
lines
could
are
have
parallel.
two straight lines on the face of the Earth that are parallel, which you can't.
Latitude lines are parallel.
Yes, but they're not straight lines.
latitude line.
And they wouldn't be
Latitude
following a great
lines
circle
cannot-
route.
Are they straight?
Latitude lines
define
cannot be
straight
great
now.
circles.
I mean, if
Latitude
they're-
lines cannot be great circles except for the equator.
Except for the
because a
equator.
great circle line is that which
It
you
intersects
get
the center
when
of the
you
Earth.
slice the Earth with a plane going through the center of the Earth.
Correct.
Okay.
And that
So, but
only happens
but
at the
you say
equator or latitude.
we're overly confusing. We're using too many terms for slightly different things when we're messing up spherical geometry and plane geometry here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
We're talking
latitude
about the
lines are latitude lines are those that you get when you take a plane and slice through the axis perpendicular to the axis of the Earth, not the center of the Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are parallel.
But the line that it creates on the surface of the Earth is not a straight line.
No one's claiming it's curve. Yes, it'd be following a curve. Yeah, of course it is.
So we're talking about okay. I think
No,
we're
but
going over the
curve,
same
you were
ground.
talking
We're
about the left
talking
one.
about we're talking about creating
I'm
two.
showing you the curve. I'm demonstrating what the curve on a sphere would look like. There's the drop, but the point is
I know.
it's the vertical.
We're
So
all
when
my
you-
point was
And
is
it
we're
has to be
talking
held
about
rigid.
two straight lines on the surface of the Earth are not parallel. That's it.
But they are parallel.
They're
They are
not.
they are parallel to one another.
That's what we just went over. We just went over how great circles are not parallel.
Well, this isn't the great
Yeah, but
circle
these
route.
aren't great circles.
Only at the equator is a latitude line in the great circle route.
One's going to have to be shorter than the other. If
That's
they're
correct.
on a
One would be
sphere.
shorter than the other. That's correct.
That's why we talked about that you'd have to turn
Same distance. Y'all are answering your own questions.
if you
I swear.
follow the
Brandon.
latitude line.
Brandon,
Yeah.
That's also
Brandon,
correct. But this
problem-
doesn't.
The problem lies, Brandon, because you're talking over great distances. When you're talking over 3 miles, 10 miles, you can draw for all practical purposes straight line on a spherical Earth. The deviation would be immeasurable.
That's why we're talking about trying to transfer the vertical drop.
Yes, but you're only doing it over a couple miles, so it's essentially
If it's dropping 8 inches per mile squared, it's measurable.
That's the
Oh,
vertical.
Brian.
We mustn't get mixed up between the vertical and the side to side things. You're getting these constantly mixed up.
This whole time we've
George
been
said
talking about
immeasurable.
trying to
You mean-
transfer the vertical to 90 degrees. That's what we're talking about.
George, you mean
Okay, if you're doing that, then everything's fine.
Yeah.
Immeasurable like that.
Rumpus, why don't you just use the ribbon concept that I did? Put 2 ribbons on the surface of the Earth that are the same thickness, butted up against one another, and rotate them so they're both vertical. Now the tops will all be level as long as you fit the ribbon to the surface of the Earth. Now they're trying to do that in reverse. They're trying to start with the ribbons vertical and then lay them down and see if there's a gap. There isn't going to be a gap.
Yeah, but hold on, George. They're trying, but surely, George, Surely you see what they're trying to do. They're trying to capture the.
Yes, I just described it for you.
I
Put
didn't
it in your
understand what you
mind.
said.
Imagine
Sorry,
it.
I didn't understand what you were saying. It's no good.
Okay. Take two ribbons. They have the same width. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And you lay them down on the surface of the earth.
Right.
The edges on each one are going to be parallel to one another.
Right. So these are mile-long ribbons, for instance. Okay.
Yeah. Mile-long ribbons. You butt them up against one another.
Right.
Lay them down on the surface of the earth. Okay.
Right.
And they're butted up against one another because each edge of the ribbon is parallel
Yes. Okay.
to one another. All right. Now flip them up 90 degrees and now fit the bottom edge of the ribbon to the surface of the earth. Ribbons are equal width, so the tops will now all be level. Ribbons will have level tops at the same altitude.
But
This is what they're
But they're
starting
not
with.
rigid. But they're not rigid. So I don't understand the
Oh my God! Imagine
they're
they're
going to
rigid.
be. They're going to be
You're not
diverging
saying they're
if you turn
rigid
them facing
ribbons.
each other. No,
You're not
getting
saying
around
they're
it,
rigid
bud.
ribbons. Oh, God.
Oh no, Rumpus, think again. Put your thinking cap on. Now we've got
I
our
am. I'm a
ribbons.
bit tired, but yeah.
No, shut up. Shut up a minute. Just follow me through this. Okay, you can make them out of flexible rubber as long as you don't change the width. Okay, you can conform it to the surface of the earth when you flip them up so that they're vertical, so that the bottom and the top edges follow the curvature of the earth. When you flip them down, they're still going to be
I don't
touching
know
one
what you mean by flip them down. I don't understand that statement.
Okay, you take them from vertical, lay them down horizontally.
But they're not rigid.
Oh God, forget it.
Good. No, I just don't-
He's saying
no
they,
idea
if
what
they
you
were
talking about.
rigid, imagine they were rigid.
What's the point of talking about ribbons if they're not rigid? Why not talk about lumps of concrete as we described in the original test? You just draw two trenches next to one another.
We know.
You fill them full of concrete, and then that would work.
We're
But
trying
then
to
we've got
make
this
the
issue-
logistics easier. We're thinking of ways to try to make it easier.
Rumpus. Guys, real quick.
Rumpus, the problem is,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, George.
in one
George, hold on
case,
one
you're
second.
trying to butt
George.
the sides up. In the other case, you're trying to
You got
butt
me
the
fucking
top
muted,
up.
bro. You
They're
can't
not
do
the
this.
same experiment.
He can't have people muted on the show, bro.
Yeah, George, you can't have people muted during the show because it screws it up. You
You
guys
don't
have to
have
talk.
him. I'm just ignoring the SOB because he's always
Okay.
interrupting.
All right, go
Okay,
ahead.
say we made our two canals. Say we made our two canals, and then on the end, the middle, and the end, instead of flipping the whole thing over, we just cut a little slice out and turn that 45 degrees. What would be the difference of doing that or flipping the whole thing over?
Right. What you've got to do, though, is to maintain the respective positions of the center.
What is the difference?
If you could maintain the position of the middle to the ends, then everything would be wonderful. But the only way to do that is to connect it solidly.
Why? We're just going to flip them 45. It'll be the same fucking thing.
But what axis are you flipping them about?
And
We're
how
gonna
do you
put them at-
determine
we're
that you
gonna
flip
put them
them
at a-
perfectly? How do you
We're gonna
determine you
level
flip them
them out.
perfectly? How do you
Yes,
determine
we're
you
gonna
flip them
level them out.
perfectly?
That's what
We're
I was
gonna
trying to
level
draw
them
here.
out.
You
We'll
see,
put
Well,
a
how
level
can you go
on
left or
them,
right or something?
Make sure they're level.
Jeremy, the reason I drew this chord line in here is that's the axis that you've got to flip them around. If you
Bro,
don't have this
fuck
axis,
the cord line. What is the problem with flipping these three segments of our long canal?
because you've got to have an axis around which you're flipping them.
How do you determine you flip them perfectly?
We'll put a spirit level out. Make sure they're 45. Make sure they're spirit level. We'll make sure they're level.
But
Perfectly level.
You've got to have an axis along which you're doing the flip, and if they're not rigid, you'll be flipping them around
Do we
anything.
need them on hinges? Do you,
No,
do you want them on hinges?
Because
Like,
imagine,
what do you want?
imagine it's a wall, right? And it's hinged at B. A, B, and C are all connected. It's a rigid wall. There's a hinge coming down off of B that is connected to the earth. And we push on B on that hinge and flip it down. What's going to happen is A and C are going to kick back. They're not going to lay down flat like you're talking about. You couldn't draw a 45-degree line. This is what Rumpus is saying, because the bottom of A and C would flip back.
I understand that they can kick all they want. If
Yes,
it is curving
yeah.
and it's equidistant, then they will diverge.
Because
if it's
because
equidistant,
here you've
no
got
matter-
A,
Right.
so this is what Brandon's saying, and here's B and C, and they were
got you back on two dimensions, bro.
So B, the A has got to move back with respect to B, or B's got to advance with respect to A. So you could hinge it at A and C, you'd be perfectly happy, and then you could push B, and they would all hinge if you had a nice hinge with A and C. But you've got to an axis here is this chord line. So you've got to hinge them somewhere that's consistent. Either at B or, as Brandon said, or
The only thing that may happen is if we were on a globe, the ends would come up in the air. Okay, the ends would come up in the air gently. Okay, but
yes,
all the
if
hinges
you push
shit,
the,
you got
what
to think
Brandon
in two
said, you push
dimensions
the
again.
B, then A and C would come up in the air. Yes.
If this thing was stiff
But they would
enough,
still
which is
diverge
difficult.
away from each other, bro. They would still diverge away from each other. There's no getting
Yes, they
around
would,
it,
but
bro.
they've got to be rigid.
If this thing was stiff enough to maintain its integrity over a 3-mile distance or however long you're making this thing, you're talking about some pretty.
He's trying to make it sound like they're going to bow upwards at each end, and they're going to
you're
bow
missing the point.
away from each other.
You're missing the
They
other
can't do
point.
both,
Not only will the ends lift off the earth, they will move backward when you flip up your ribbon or
Okay,
your.
George, let me explain this. George, let's say I have a pole that goes a mile in the air. Okay, now I go 50 miles away, and I got another pole that goes a mile in the air. Then I go another 50 miles. So I got two 1-mile poles in the air on a straight line. Okay, now I go 10 miles to the right. Okay, it's going to be a different distance, so they're going to be different distances. On the globe, they're going to be two great circle routes. So, okay, I can line them up, right? So now I got another row of 3. One pole sticking 1 mile in the air. Then I'll drop them all down, exactly facing toward each other. The ones at the end, according to your model, the ones at the end are going to be further apart from each other than the ones in the middle. There's no getting around it, man. Because what you're saying is a straight line is a great circle route. And y'all are picturing 2 dimensions. Y'all are going from 3 back to 2 dimensions. But you can't do that, man. You got to think.
Are you saying that the bottom?
I'm afraid, Brian, you have great difficulty imagining 3D geometry. The thing is, when you flip up your walls, not only will the ends lift off the earth, they will also move backward.
What do you mean
from
lift off the earth? We're just going to lay them down. Nothing's going to lifting off
Because
the
they're
earth.
curved.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Because they're
they're
curved.
Lay them down on their side. We're
surface.
not
When you
lifting
flip
them in
the
the air
wall
and
up, the ends
carrying
will
them
come
with
up
a
off
hand
the
cart.
earth a bit.
You understand
We're
that the
just laying
arc,
them
you're
down.
converting,
Nothing's
you're
lifting
converting
off
the
of
arc you're converting what, I don't know, you're converting like a hump into a C or something.
That's why we're dropping them the same exact distance. Because the latitude lines are necessarily.
You're right, on a flat earth this might work,
to
but
keep it parallel.
global
Listen,
won't.
you have to curve a latitude line to keep it
If the
parallel.
size
You
of the
have
wall-
to curve it.
The size of your wall.
Are we on latitude lines or are we going equal distance apart?
Just a minute.
I don't know
If the
how
size-
else to keep them on 3 dimensions, bro. Than saying latitude lines.
size of
You
your
have
wall-
to curve it, bro.
If the sides of your wall are straight and parallel, when you flip it up 90 degrees, the ends will come up off the earth because you're trying to fit a straight line on a curved surface, and there's going to be a gap, just like there is with drop distance.
George, let me ask you a question. Picture a globe, okay?
I don't
And
have. You can't understand
I'm
that
gonna force you to
concept.
think in
You're
3 dimensions,
hopeless.
bro. Think of a pole that falls toward the equator, okay? Right at the timeline. The timeline. You have a big giant 1,000-mile pole at the equator, and you have one at the North Pole, okay, right in the middle of the international timeline. Okay, they drop toward each other and they just barely touch. Now you have the same poles halfway around the globe, just at the North Pole, so it's not that far. It's only about 1,000 miles, right? And then you got another one at the equator, and you drop them toward each other, okay? And then you got one on the other side. They necessarily have to be diverging because on a globe, a straight line is a great circle. So
Wait a minute. No. A straight line is not a great circle. We've proven this. You can slice an orange.
No.
I've got a visual.
Slice the orange. They're not.
We're talking about on the surface. We're talking about on the surface.
Am I making any service though?
Can I just do a quick visualization? Can we imagine? I will, George. Please let me just do the visualization. I'll come back to you. Just remember what you've got to say. Just quickly, imagine a croquet hoop. Are we familiar with croquet and having a wire croquet hoop? Now, imagine you're decided you're going to push over the croquet hoop onto your lawn, and it's up. So you can imagine that the curve is the croquet hoop, and then you want to push it over.
Rumpus, there are no straight
Nearly
lines
there.
on
Please give me
any
5
type of
seconds.
sphere.
Give
There
me
are no
5
straight
seconds.
lines unless
Be
you're talking about
quiet.
radius
Be
and
quiet. Give
diameter.
me 5
That's it.
seconds. Give me 5 seconds. And the ends
I
of
don't
the
understand
hoop.
what the straight
Be
line
quiet. The ends of the hoop have not moved, but the middle bit, which is in contact with the earth as well, will move a lot. Now, you could think of it as either pivoting around the ends or doing what Brandon was suggesting and having it pivoting in the middle.
And ladies and gentlemen, he's right back in 2 dimensions. Ladies and gentlemen, he's right back in 2 dimensions.
Brian, you can get going in a second. Now, if you did what Brandon suggested, you get this kickback. But if you do have it pivoting around the ends, then just the middle bit will move. Go ahead.
We're drawing the line off the ground, so it's in free space, dumbass. Look, we're drawing the line off the ground, okay? Both of them. So they're in free space. What's underneath them does not matter. Do you understand that?
Imagine a croquet hoop and laying it down, and you will then see what's
going to happen. I said I'm going to draw this line underneath the top because they're going to try and use the distance of the bottoms because they can't take it 3 dimensions.
The only straight line
Again,
on the
Rumpus,
outside of a
I
sphere is
say
called a
that
tangent,
Brian
Rumpus.
has
That's
difficulty
it. The
imagining
only
3D
straight line on the
geometry.
outside of the sphere is called a
If you take
tangent.
this wall and pin the ends to the earth and you flip this up 90 degrees so it's vertical, then the middle will move forward with respect to those pins.
Like a hoop, like a croquet hoop that you've got in the lawn, and then you push it over. You'll either do what Brandon suggests, and then you keep the middle bit stationary, the ends will then flip back, or do what I'm thinking of, like a croquet hoop, you keep the ends in the grass. They don't move at all. They remain in the same position on the lawn, and you just move the middle bit. But it's going to move a lot, the middle bit.
Okay, we have these three. Okay, give me 2 minutes, guys.
Okay.
We have these 3 cement pieces. We have these 6 cement pieces. We have them all hinged to the ground. So they can't move off the ground or anywhere. They're hinged to the ground. They can only turn 45 degrees. 90 degrees.
But you lose their respective positions if you do that.
How? They're hinged to the ground.
Right, yes.
Because
but
the ground is curved.
They've got to pivot around the ends of the hoop, of the ends
You're
of the
thinking
curve.
on a flat
Not
earth.
in the middle. You're fixing it to the middle. You're trying to fix it all in the middle points, whereas with a hoop, you couldn't do what I just suggested with a croquet hoop. Listen, be quiet, twat. You couldn't lay down a croquet hoop doing what you... Hold on, Jeremy. You couldn't lay down a croquet hoop on the lawn using what your technique. You could only do it with my technique.
On a globe, they're pivoting in different directions, dude. They're not going to...
That's exactly what you cannot do.
...backwards at the end. Dude, those feet, exactly. So they're not going to... You can drop them 2 feet to the left. You can drop them 90 degrees 2 feet. If you drop each one of them 2 feet, and they're parallel on a globe, then they're both great circles. You can't get around it. They're both great circles. You face them toward each other, they're going to diverge. You're trying to take them on a globe and then put them back in 2 dimensions.
Each individual bit fixed to the ground. You can't do it. You have to have a pivoting point around the ends or one.
Not all straight lines are great circle routes. Sorry.
They're going to be divergent.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Rumpus. I have my piece. It's level with the water. I turn it 90 degrees. Now we have the level part on the ground. What's the problem?
Just imagine having a croquet hoop.
What's the problem with what I just said?
Because you're trying to fix each individual part of a croquet hoop to the ground, and they change different amounts. The 2 ends don't move.
All right. Well, this is going to continue for quite a while. We're already 10 minutes over, and the audience is quickly moving on to other things. I really appreciated it. I know it was kind of a shit show, but I did put in the title Friday Night Fights ? And I think we answered that question with a yes, there was Friday Night Fights. Well, it was a good discussion about this experiment. I think that we need a little bit more time to discuss it, so this will probably continue for a while. But really, I think it needs to be modeled, because everybody's picking up on a different aspect of what would happen with this experiment and not another aspect of it. And I think we're talking past each other. It's just be easier to look at a model. So maybe we can get somebody to model this up real quick. I don't think it would be that difficult. And then we could just look at it together and see what would actually happen. But thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Have a good weekend. It was a good week. Lots of good stuff. Don't forget, satellites fall into clouds when they're deployed. So don't forget that. That's a little known fact that we've discovered this week. And we mustn't forget. So thanks, everybody. We will see you on Monday, same time. Have a good one. Bye.